In the quiet corners of old Japan, there exists a world just beyond the reach of ordinary sight, a world where shadows seem to move with a life of their own, and where the wind whispers secrets to anyone who listens closely enough. This is the realm of the yokai, the spirits, the creatures of myth and imagination that have danced through the minds of generations for centuries. To speak of yokai is to speak of a world that teeters on the edge of the known and the unknown, where every rustle of leaves, every ripple in a pond, and every flicker of moonlight might conceal a story waiting to be told. Imagine walking along a misty path at dusk, the scent of amber filling the air, and feeling, just for a moment, as if unseen eyes are watching you. It is in this delicate balance between curiosity and caution that the stories of yokai have always found their home. These spirits are not merely frightful specters meant to scare children into obedience, though some certainly play that role. They are reflections of human nature, mirrors of the fears and hopes that dwell within each of us. Some are playful tricksters, mischievous in their behavior but rarely causing lasting harm. Others are dark and foreboding, appearing as omens or warnings, shaping the way communities understood the dangers of the world around them. Over centuries, these stories have evolved, influenced by the rhythm of daily life, by the cycle of the seasons, and by the quiet, meditative spaces of shrines and forests. Each tale carries a whisper of the past, a glimpse into how people once perceived the mysterious and the magical in the ordinary. To truly understand the yokai, one must first let go of the boundaries that separate the real from the imagined. In the minds of the ancients, every object, every sound, and every movement held the potential for life and consciousness. A tree might lean a little too far and suddenly seem to watch you. A river could bubble in such a way that it appeared to be laughing quietly at your presence. These were not simply fanciful imaginings. They were a way to interpret a world that was vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous. By attributing personalities and intentions to the unseen, humans found a means to explain what was otherwise inexplicable. In this space, the yokai thrive, neither entirely human nor entirely other, existing in the liminal spaces between reality and dream. Walking deeper into this world, one begins to notice how the stories are not uniform, but woven with the textures of local life. In some villages, tales speak of fox spirits, cunning and sly, who teach lessons in humility and patience. In others, the mountains harbor spirits whose wrath can turn the weather against those who dare to disturb their sacred grounds. Even the simplest of objects, a teapot left too long to cool, a shadow across the rice fields at twilight, can carry the weight of a story, hinting at unseen companions that shape the rhythms of life. The beauty of the yokai myths lies in their subtlety. They are not always about grand displays of power or terror, but about quiet moments, almost unnoticed, that linger in the mind long after the tale has been told. And so, as we begin this journey into the world of the yokai, it is worth pausing to let the imagination open gently. Feel the cool mist of a forest morning, the hush of falling snow on a quiet street, the distant call of a bird at dusk. Each sensation, each quiet moment, holds the potential to reveal a story. The yokai are patient. They do not rush. They do not demand. They exist in pauses, in glances that last a little too long, in the soft rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen hand. In this way, their presence is comforting as much as it is mysterious. They remind us that there is wonder in the world, that not all things need to be explained, and that sometimes it is enough to simply notice, to listen, and to imagine. As we step further into the tales that follow, allow the mind to drift and settle, as if on a quiet river moving beneath a silver moon. Let the stories carry you softly from one scene to the next, letting each character, each spirit, take shape in your imagination with a calm, deliberate rhythm. In this gentle unfolding, the yokai reveal not just their mysteries, but also the delicate art of storytelling itself, a form that comforts, entertains, and inspires reflection. And with that, the door to their world swings open, inviting you to step across, leaving behind the ordinary, and entering a space where magic, history, and imagination converge quietly, patiently, and endlessly. Long before the tales of mischievous foxes, eerie spirits, or towering demons took shape, the people of Japan lived in a world that seemed alive in every direction. Mountains breathed with the wind, rivers whispered secrets to those who would listen, and the forests were home to countless unseen beings. In this world, nothing was truly separate. Humans, animals, plants, and spirits existed as parts of a single, interconnected whole. From the earliest times, The people developed beliefs rooted in Shinto and animism, a spiritual understanding of life in which every object, no matter how small, possessed a spirit or energy of its own. These early beliefs laid the foundation for the yokai myths that would later flourish, offering a lens through which humans could interpret the mysteries of the world. Imagine a village surrounded by rolling hills and dense woodland. The villagers rise with the sun and listen carefully to the sound around them, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, the gentle ripple of streams. To them, these sounds are not merely natural phenomena. They are the voices of the kami, the spirits that inhabit the mountains, trees, rivers, and rocks. Every movement, every whisper in the wind, is alive with intention. A sudden gust might be the sigh of a mountain spirit displeased with the actions of those below. A calm, placid pond could conceal a creature watching quietly, curious about human visitors. In this way, the natural and the supernatural are intertwined, coexisting in a delicate balance that governs daily life, rituals, and storytelling. Shinto, the indigenous faith of Japan, emphasizes the sacredness of nature and the presence of kami everywhere. These spirits were not distant gods but intimate, accessible presences, guardians of the land, ancestors, and embodiments of natural phenomena. In early Japanese thought, misfortune and blessing were rarely separated from the environment, and so humans learned to live in harmony with it. The mountains were respected, the rivers honored, and even the smallest stream or grove could become a shrine. Through these practices, the seeds of yokai mythology were sown, as people began to give narrative shape to the unknown forces surrounding them. What could not be explained by ordinary observation was attributed to spirits, sometimes benign, sometimes mischievous, sometimes dangerous, always alive. The earliest stories often blurred the line between what was real and what was imagined, because for these communities, imagination and observation were deeply entwined. A shadow that moved strangely at dusk might become a mountain spirit, watching and judging, while an animal behaving unusually could be a shape-shifting fox or tanuki testing the human's wisdom. These interpretations were not intended to frighten but to teach respect for nature, for the unseen, and for the delicate balance of life itself. And yet, in their cautionary wisdom, these stories also created a sense of wonder, a feeling that the world was filled with mystery and magic if only one knew where to look. In this way, the yokai were never simply entertainment. They were guides, reminders, and companions in a world that was vast, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating. Through centuries of oral tradition, these early beliefs evolved. Traveling storytellers, village elders, and wandering monks carried tales from one region to another, each story absorbing elements of local culture, geography, and experience. A river spirit in one village might become a trickster spirit in the next. A story told to caution children about wandering too far into the woods might transform into a tale of clever yokai testing human intelligence. This fluidity allowed the myths to grow richer, more complex, and more diverse, giving birth to the yokai in form both whimsical and terrifying. The legend became a mirror of human life, reflecting our curiosity, our fears, and our deep need to find meaning in the inexplicable. Even in the simplest daily rituals, traces of these beliefs can be seen. A farmer leaving an offering of rice to the fields, a family placing protective charms near their door, or a child listening wide-eyed to tales of local spirits. All of these practices stem from an early understanding that the unseen world is ever present. Respect, humility, and attentiveness were as important as bravery or cleverness in these tales, for to ignore the world of spirits was to risk imbalance, misfortune, or the gentle eye of a yokai unseen. Through this careful observation and storytelling, a culture developed that was rich in imagination, full of symbolism, and grounded in an intimate relationship with the natural and spiritual world alike. As we begin to explore the world of yokai more deeply, it is important to remember that these stories are not just about fear or the supernatural. They are reflections of a worldview where every leaf, stone, and gust of wind is alive with possibility. The ancient beliefs of Shinto and animism remind us to observe closely, to respect our surroundings, and to find wonder in the smallest details of life. It is in these quiet, attentive moments that the spirit of the yokai is most alive, waiting to be noticed, remembered, and shared. By understanding the roots of Japanese spirit beliefs, we prepare ourselves to meet the yokai in their many forms, appreciating not only the stories themselves but the cultural and spiritual framework that allowed them to flourish for centuries. The word yokai itself holds a kind of quiet mystery, as if speaking it aloud might summon a presence from another realm. In the simplest sense, yokai are supernatural beings. Spirits are creatures that exist just beyond ordinary perception. Yet, their nature is far from simple. They inhabit a space between the tangible and the imagined, between the familiar and the unknown, and their form can be as varied as the forests, rivers, and mountains of Japan. Some take the shapes of animals, such as foxes or raccoon dogs, while others appear as strange, elongated humans or creatures with features that defy logic entirely. There are yokai that float silently through the mist, unseen yet felt, and others that move boldly, demanding attention with their oddity or mischief. To understand them is to enter a world where curiosity and caution are entwined, where every encounter holds potential wonder, lesson, or even gentle fright. It is important to recognize that yokai are not always malevolent. In fact, many are mischievous rather than dangerous, offering challenges or lessons rather than harm. Take, for instance, the kitsune or fox spirit. These beings are known for their cleverness, their ability to transform into human forms, and their love of playful trickery. A kitsune might hide a hat or cause a lantern to move on its own, leading a person on a small adventure that tests patience or wit. These spirits are not cruel but delight in teaching lessons through subtle pranks, reminding humans to pay attention, to respect the cleverness of the world, and to approach life with humility. Even in their playful mischief, there is a rhythm, a logic, and a gentle poetry that can be felt if one listens closely. Other yokai carry a more solemn or cautionary tone. The oni, for instance, is often depicted as a horned, fearsome creature, wielding a club and bringing punishment or warning. Encountering an oni in a story is rarely pleasant, but even these terrifying figures serve a purpose. They act as embodiments of danger, morality, or societal fears. Through such stories, ancient communities conveyed lessons about safety, ethics, and human behavior, wrapped in narrative forms that were memorable, engaging, and, at times, calming. By presenting danger in an imaginative, symbolic way, these tales allowed people to explore fear safely, transforming anxiety into understanding and uncertainty into narrative clarity. Yokai are also deeply connected to the environment, often emerging from particular places or circumstances. A river might host a kappa, a water creature known for its mischief and occasional menace, while an abandoned house could be home to spirits that linger long after their original human occupants have passed. Even everyday objects, like an old umbrella or a broken comb, can become animated as a tsukumagami, a type of yokai born from a belief that object acquires spirits over time. This perspective teaches attentiveness and respect for all things, suggesting that life, and even spirit, can exist in the most unexpected forms. In this way, yokai bridge the gap between humans and the world around them, reminding us that even the ordinary can hold magic if viewed with imagination and care. The diversity of yokai is staggering. Some are purely animalistic, while others are human-like, monstrous, or utterly abstract. A Rokurokubi may appear as a normal woman by day but stretch her neck to impossible lengths under cover of night, embodying the uncanny and the mysterious. Tengu, with their long noses and bird-like wings, are guardians of the mountains, tricksters and teachers at once. Some yokai are solitary, lurking quietly at the edges of perception, while others travel in groups, creating chaos or wonder as they go. Their stories are rarely just about the creature itself. They are about the encounter, the reaction, and the reflection that follows. Each narrative is carefully crafted to evoke curiosity, reflection, and subtle tension, a delicate balance that mirrors the rhythm of life and the ebb and flow of human emotion. One of the most intriguing aspects of yokai is their fluidity. Unlike rigid creatures of legend in other cultures, they can change form, temperament, and even allegiance depending on the story, the storyteller, or the listener. A spirit that is frightening in one tale may be protective in another. A mischievous trickster in one village may appear wise and guiding in another. This malleability gives the yokai a sense of living presence, as if they exist in multiple planes at once, both ancient and modern, both fearsome and friendly, both human and otherworldly. It allows listeners to engage their imagination actively, to feel the rhythm of stories unfolding slowly, and to savor the gentle tension between expectation and surprise. In a calm, reflective state, this engagement is not stimulating in a jarring way but soothing, like the gentle unfolding of a dream. As we begin to meet the yokai in their many forms, it becomes clear that they are more than mere creatures. They are reflections of human emotion, observation, and creativity. They teach through presence rather than instruction, revealing lessons in subtle ways and offering a mirror to the complexities of human experience. To encounter a yokai in a story is to be reminded that the world is alive with possibilities, that unseen forces linger at the edges of awareness, and that life is richer when approached with attentiveness, imagination, and calm curiosity. They invite us to observe, to wonder, and to drift into the quiet spaces where myth, history, and the human mind converge. Long before yokai were inked into prints or dramatized in theater, their stories lived and breathed in the oral traditions of villages, whispered from elder to child beside the soft glow of a hearth. In the quiet of evening, when the sun had dipped behind the hills and the wind stirred the leaves just so, villagers would gather to share tales that entertained, taught, and sometimes cautioned. These early folk tales were simple in structure but rich in imagination, weaving together the ordinary world with threads of the extraordinary. A fox that seemed to vanish at will, a strange light hovering over a rice field, or the sudden laughter of the wind could become the focus of a story, a spark from which a narrative of wonder or warning would unfurl. Listening to these tales, one might feel the warmth of community, the quiet thrill of suspense, and the gentle pull of curiosity, all at once, in a rhythm that was at once calming and immersive. The beauty of these folk tales lies not only in the creatures themselves, but in the way they reflect human experience. Many stories began with a seemingly ordinary scenario, a farmer tending to his fields, a child wandering near a river, or a traveler passing through a misty mountain path. Then, gradually, the extraordinary would intrude. Perhaps the fox spirit, or kitsune, would appear, testing the cleverness of a human, leading them into a harmless puzzle or riddle that revealed their own strengths or weaknesses. Or perhaps an oni would appear, not merely as a monster, but as a cautionary presence, highlighting the consequences of greed, carelessness, or disrespect. These stories were never gratuitously frightening. They were a form of narrative guidance, gently teaching lessons about behavior, humility, and attentiveness while keeping the listener engaged through suspense and imaginative detail. Many of the earliest yokai tales were deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. Seasons shaped the narrative. The blooming of cherry trees, the quiet snow of winter, the heavy rains of summer. Each moment carried potential for a spirit's presence, and storytellers often used this to create tension, pacing, and atmosphere. Imagine a village during harvest time, with golden fields swaying under a gentle breeze. As the night falls, a mysterious figure is glimpsed moving through the crops, a yokai perhaps watching and waiting. The villagers, cautious yet intrigued, interpret these events not only as supernatural but as reminders of the delicate balance between human effort and nature's whims. These connections grounded the tales in a tangible world, giving the audience both familiarity and a sense of wonder. Storytellers used rhythm, repetition, and sensory detail to draw listeners deep into the narrative. A creaking floorboard, the distant call of a bird at dusk, or the rustle of bamboo leaves in the wind could all become motifs, creating a rich auditory landscape in the mind. As a tale unfolded, listeners would feel themselves moving through forests, crossing rivers, and wandering through mist-laden fields alongside the characters. They could sense the clever flicker of a fox's tail, the cold stare of a shadowed figure, or the gentle whisper of spirits in the night. In this way, the stories were not only entertaining, they were immersive experiences designed to occupy the imagination fully, gently guiding the mind into reflection and wonder. Some folk tales emphasize morality, using yokai encounters as mirrors for human behavior. For example, a greedy merchant might encounter a mischievous tanuki who cleverly tricks him into losing his ill-gotten gains, teaching lessons about honesty and humility. In another story, a young child wandering too close to a river might be guided back safely by a benign kappa, a creature associated with water, reminding listeners that respect for the natural world is paramount. These lessons were subtle, never overtly preachy, and they unfolded naturally within the rhythm of the narrative. This blending of entertainment, caution, and reflection is a hallmark of early yokai storytelling, creating stories that could soothe, intrigue, and educate simultaneously. The power of these folk tales also comes from their adaptability. A story told in one village might differ slightly in another, shaped by local geography, customs, or even the storyteller's imagination. Perhaps in one village, a tengu might dwell in a mountain, teaching travelers humility through riddles and trials, while in another, the same figure might act as protector, guiding lost wanderers safely down the slopes. This flexibility allowed the yokai mythos to grow organically, responding to the needs, fears, and hopes of the communities that nurtured it. It also meant that the stories remained fresh, always capable of engaging the listener's imagination anew, as if the spirits themselves were subtly influencing the tale. Even the structure of these tales contributed to their calming, immersive effect. Many began with a simple setup, followed by the introduction of a yokai or strange event, leading to a climax that tested the human characters, and resolving in a conclusion that offered reflection, safety, or a gentle lesson. The pacing was deliberate, encouraging listeners to slow down, to follow the narrative with care, and to savor the unfolding mystery. These stories were not designed to startle in the sharp, abrupt way modern horror often does. Instead, they gently drew the listener into a world where suspense and wonder coexisted, a world where imagination could roam freely and safely, guided by the rhythm of a narrative and the subtle presence of the supernatural. As we explore these early folk tales, it becomes clear that the stories of yokai are not just about creatures or spirits. They are about connection to nature, to community, to human emotion, and to the vast, mysterious world beyond ordinary perception. They invite the listener to observe, imagine, and reflect, creating a space where fear, curiosity, and calm coexist harmoniously. These narratives have endured for centuries precisely because they balance the extraordinary with the familiar, offering a gentle, immersive journey into a world where every shadow, every sound, and every movement might carry the presence of spirit. And as we continue deeper into the myths, we will see how these early tales gave birth to the rich, varied, and endlessly fascinating tapestry of yokai mythology we know today. In the quiet spaces of nature, where the wind whispers through the trees and the soft ripple of water lulls the mind, the presence of yokai feels most alive. Long before cities grew and roads cut through the land, people lived in intimate contact with mountains, rivers, forests, and fields. In this environment, the line between the human world and the spirit world was thin, almost imperceptible. Every grove, every bend in a river, and every rocky outcrop could harbor a presence, a being watching, waiting, or simply existing alongside those who pass by. It was in these landscapes that yokai found their natural homes, each creature reflecting some aspect of the environment itself, blending seamlessly into the rhythm of nature while maintaining a quiet, mysterious autonomy. Consider the rivers, flowing endlessly, carrying both life and legend. Many yokai were said to reside in these waters, creatures that could be playful, mischievous, or even dangerous. The kappa, perhaps the most famous of these river spirits, is often depicted as a small, childlike being with a dish of water balanced on its head. It resides in rivers and ponds, sometimes helping humans and sometimes testing them, reminding villagers that water is both a giver of life and a force to be respected. Parents would tell their children of the kappa not only to entertain, but to instill caution near the water's edge. Such stories were practical, yes, but they also created a sense of wonder, an understanding that the natural world was alive with consciousness, agency, and even personality. Forests, too, were prime homes of the yokai, places where sunlight barely touched the forest floor and shadows seemed to move of their own accord. Here, creatures like the tengu, bird-like spirits often seen with red faces and long noses, dwell. These beings were said to inhabit mountain forests, guardians of hidden knowledge, and sometimes tricksters who tested travelers' courage and humility. The forest itself becomes part of the story, a living stage where humans and spirits intersect. Every rustle of leaves, every creaking branch, is amplified in the mind, giving shape to the yokai without ever needing to see it. The story and the environment merge, teaching respect for the wilderness and its hidden life while offering a gentle thrill of suspense. Even ordinary fields and farms were not exempt from the presence of spirits. In the golden stretches of rice paddies, one might imagine small, elusive yokai slipping silently among the stalks, invisible but perceptible through subtle signs, a ripple of water where no stone falls, a shadow darting just out of view, or a soft whisper of laughter riding the breeze. These spirits often represented human anxieties or hopes, reflecting the delicate balance between labor and nature, success and failure, growth and decay. By personifying natural forces as spirits with intentions and character, villagers could interpret the unpredictable rhythms of life in ways that were both comforting and instructive. Mountains, with their looming peaks and mist-shrouded slopes, were home to some of the most awe-inspiring yokai. These spirits were often depicted as tall, imposing, and powerful, embodying the majesty and danger of the highlands. The Tengu, as mentioned, is a prime example, teaching humility to those who dare traverse the mountains with arrogance or carelessness. In some tales, mountains themselves were alive, imbued with a consciousness that could influence whether guard hidden treasures or summon creatures to interact with humans. By integrating yokai into these grand natural settings, stories encourage reverence for the world and an awareness of human smallness in the face of vast, living landscapes. Even the smallest elements of nature, rocks, trees, fallen leaves, could hold yokai within them. A tree twisted into a peculiar shape might be home to a kodama, a spirit inhabiting trees, or a rock might conceal a minor, playful being that delighted in surprising passers-by. This attention to minute details cultivated a mindset of mindfulness, where careful observation of the world could reveal layers of meaning, mystery, and magic. To live with yokai in mind was to perceive life as richly textured, alive in ways both obvious and hidden, familiar and strange. Through these connections to nature, the stories of yokai convey more than whimsy. They offer insight into how humans understood and interacted with the environment. The spirits personify forces that are often beyond human control: the unpredictability of rivers, the danger of mountains, the persistence of weather, and the cycles of growth and decay. By creating beings with character, intent, and narrative, early storytellers were able to interpret these forces, to teach lessons, and to foster a deep respect for the natural world. The presence of yokai transforms ordinary landscapes into stages of imagination, observation, and reflection, where every shadow and sound might carry a story waiting to unfold. As the tales evolved, so too did the connection between yokai and human activity. Farmers leaving offerings to appease spirits, children hearing stories of mischievous tricksters, and travelers observing omens in rivers or forests all reflect a subtle understanding. Nature and the supernatural are intertwined. This integration made life feel alive in every sense, a continuous dance between humans and the world around them. It was not merely fear that governed these interactions, but curiosity, respect, and imagination, which created a rich cultural tapestry and a fertile ground for storytelling. By following the lives and habits of yokai through rivers, forests, mountains, and fields, we begin to see a pattern emerge. These creatures are not random or chaotic. They are carefully integrated into the landscapes of human experience. They guide behavior, reflect values, and transform ordinary spaces into realms of wonder. To hear their stories is to walk through Japan alive with spirits, a world where nature speaks softly but insistently, inviting observation, reflection, and imagination. In these quiet moments, one begins to understand the profound role that nature plays in yokai mythology and how these beings became mirrors of both the world outside and the inner life of human imagination. Among the countless stories of yokai, one of the most intriguing aspects is the contrast between the mischievous and the malicious. These two sides of the spirit world exist in a delicate balance, reminding humans that not all encounters with the supernatural are the same. Mischievous yokai often appear playful, testing humans with clever tricks or unusual behavior, while malicious ones embody danger, misfortune, or punishment. By observing these differences, we gain insight not only into the spirits themselves, but also into the culture and worldview of the people who told their tales. The distinction is subtle yet important, and it guides the rhythm of many folk tales, shaping both suspense and reflection in the listener's imagination. Consider the playful yokai first. Among the most famous are the kitsune, fox spirits renowned for their intelligence and trickery. These beings might hide an object, transform into a human, or lead travelers on a winding, harmless adventure through the forest. Their actions are rarely intended to harm, and often the stories reveal lessons through the consequences of their pranks. Perhaps a greedy merchant is humiliated by a kitsune for boasting, learning humility without suffering lasting harm. Or a young child is guided home after wandering too far, amused by the gentle mischief of a playful spirit. In these tales, the suspense is mild, the tension carefully measured, and the resolution often leave the listener with a sense of satisfaction, wonder, and gentle amusement. There is a rhythm to these stories, a cadence that mirrors the playful movement of the yokai themselves. On the other hand, the more malicious yokai evoke caution, reminding humans that the world is unpredictable and that not all spirits are friendly. The oni, horned demons with immense strength, serve as a prime example. They often appear as agents of punishment or guardians of sacred spaces, their presence a warning to those who act recklessly, disrespect tradition, or neglect their duties. Encountering an oni in a story is an experience tinged with tension, but even here, the lesson is clear. Behavior matters, and respect for the unknown is essential. These tales were particularly important in communities where danger was ever present, offering symbolic frameworks to understand misfortune, natural disasters, or human conflict. By personifying these forces in the form of a yokai, storytellers could transform abstract anxieties into tangible narratives, giving humans both explanation and reflection. Between these two poles, there exists a wide spectrum of yokai, each reflecting nuanced human emotions and social lessons. Some are unpredictable, switching from playful to dangerous depending on circumstances. The tanuki, a raccoon dog spirit, is well known for its shape-shifting tricks. Sometimes it is mischievous, leading travelers astray or playing harmless pranks, while in other stories it can become a source of anxiety or trouble. This duality mirrors the unpredictability of life itself, reminding listeners that caution and attentiveness are virtues, but so too are curiosity, creativity, and humor. In this way, the stories of yokai operate on multiple levels. They entertain, they instruct, and they reflect the complexity of existence. The contrast between mischievous and malicious yokai is also evident in their interactions with humans. A playful spirit might challenge a character's intelligence or sense of humor, nudging them toward cleverness, patience, or observation. In contrast, a malicious spirit often tests morality, courage, or respect for the natural world. Both forms encourage engagement, but the tone and emotional rhythm differ. The mischievous evokes a light, curious suspense, while the malicious creates deep attention, a sense of foreboding that is tempered by narrative resolution. This careful modulation of mood allows the listener to remain calm yet attentive, absorbing lessons and imagery without being overwhelmed by fear or anxiety. The ways in which these spirits manifest are also telling. Mischievous yokai often take familiar forms, animals, humans, or everyday objects, yet behave in unexpected ways, introducing surprise and delight. A pair of shoes might move of their own accord, or a shadow might mimic a human's movements, causing laughter or mild confusion. These encounters are subtle, almost playful, requiring careful observation and imagination. In contrast, malicious yokai often display more dramatic features, exaggerated faces, fearsome claws, or enormous eyes. Their very appearance signals caution, a visual language that communicates danger even before their actions unfold. This distinction between form and behavior reinforces the duality of yokai, shaping how humans interpret, anticipate, and respond to these spirits. Stories of mischievous versus malicious yokai also reveal something profound about human psychology and culture. In a world where nature was unpredictable and human life was vulnerable, these tales provided both explanation and control. The playful spirits remind us that mistakes, curiosity, and mischief can be navigated safely, often yielding insight or humor. The more threatening spirits teach prudence, respect, and moral awareness, symbolizing consequences without delivering real-world harm. Together, these narratives offer a balance of tension and release, fear and delight, helping listeners navigate the uncertainties of life in a manner both reflective and reassuring. Even within a single story, the line between mischief and malice can be blurred, creating a subtle, immersive tension that holds the listener's attention. Perhaps a kitsune initially appears playful, leading a character through a confusing maze of forest paths, only for the situation to grow unexpectedly serious if boundaries are crossed. Or a kappa, usually helpful, may become dangerous if disrespected or ignored. This fluidity mirrors the unpredictability of the natural and human worlds, reinforcing the idea that understanding, respect, and attentiveness are essential. It is this interplay, the shifting dance between mischief and menace, that gives yokai stories a lasting power, keeping the imagination engaged while maintaining a gentle, contemplative rhythm. As we continue to explore the world of yokai, it becomes clear that their duality is central to the mythology itself. Mischievous and malicious spirits are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of the same imaginative landscape, reflecting the full range of human experience and the subtle complexities of the natural world. Through careful storytelling, these spirits guide, challenge, and inspire, shaping not only behavior but imagination, offering lessons that are at once practical, reflective, and soothing. They remind us that the world is alive with hidden possibilities, that curiosity must be balanced with caution, and that even in the presence of uncertainty, there is room for play, wonder, and reflection. Among the vast world of yokai, a few stand out as archetypes, beings whose forms, behaviors, and stories have become familiar to generations, like landmarks in the landscape of the imagination. These archetypes help define the mythology itself, offering recognizable shapes, patterns of behavior, and lessons that repeat across time and region. They are the spirits that most easily capture the imagination, not simply because of fear or awe, but because their stories are vivid, intricate, and filled with both wonder and subtle wisdom. Meeting these archetypes is like walking through a gallery of living myths, where each creature carries a story, a personality, and a connection to the human world. One of the most famous yokai is the tengu, often depicted with bird-like features, red faces, and long, sharp noses. These spirits are closely associated with mountains and forests, where they are said to dwell in the highest trees or hidden caves. The tengu are both teachers and tricksters, guardians and challengers, embodying the duality found in much of yokai mythology. They might test the skills or humility of a wandering samurai, providing lessons in patience, awareness, and respect. In some tales, they appear fearsome, wielding fans or weapons that can summon storms or misfortune. In others, they are more playful, guiding travelers who have proven their courage or cleverness. The tengu's presence in stories reminds humans that the natural world is alive with intelligence and intention, that mountains and forests are more than landscapes. They are realms where the ordinary and extraordinary meet. Another iconic archetype is the kappa, the river spirit known for its mischievous and sometimes dangerous behavior. Small in stature, with a watery dish atop its head, the kappa inhabits ponds, rivers, and streams. Stories of kappa often blend caution with curiosity, teaching children and adults alike to respect water, understand a potential danger, and approach the unknown with careful attention. The kappa may challenge humans to contests of skill, trick them with clever games, or, in more threatening tales, attempt to drag the unwary into water. Yet, kappa are not uniformly malicious. They can be surprisingly helpful if treated with respect, teaching lessons in reciprocity, attentiveness, and mindfulness. The kappa embodies the interplay between playfulness and caution, reflecting the delicate balance humans must maintain with the natural world. Equally fascinating are shape-shifting yokai, such as the kitsune and tanuki, creatures capable of assuming human forms or mimicking objects and situations. Kitsune, or fox spirits, are often associated with intelligence, cunning, and magical transformation. They may appear as beautiful women, mischievous children, or even elderly men, depending on the story's need, creating moments of suspense, surprise, and reflection. Kitsune are tricksters, but their mischief is rarely cruel. It serves to test human judgment, patience, and morality. Tanuki, or raccoon dogs, are playful in a more whimsical way, using illusions to create humorous or puzzling situations. These shape-shifting spirits remind listeners that the world is full of hidden possibilities, that appearances can be deceiving, and that perception and insight are valuable tools in navigating life. Through their stories, imagination itself becomes a guide. The Rokurokubi is another archetype that evokes both fascination and subtle unease. These yokai appear as ordinary humans by day but reveal extraordinary qualities at night, the ability to stretch their necks to impossible lengths. In stories, the Rokurokubi often challenges social norms, tests human perception, or serves as a metaphor for hidden aspect of human nature. Unlike spirits that dwell in nature, they blur the line between human and supernatural, reflecting complex interplay between ordinary life and hidden mystery. Their tales carry a quiet tension, a gentle suspense that lingers, encouraging mindfulness and attentiveness in both the characters of the story and the listener. Even smaller or less imposing yokai have archetypal roles that are meaningful. Kodama, for example, are spirits inhabiting trees, often silent and elusive. Cutting a tree inhabited by kodama is considered dangerous or disrespectful, as these spirits are guardians of the forest and of life itself. By giving personality and agency to such beings, stories cultivate respect for nature, transforming ordinary acts into opportunities for reflection and moral engagement. In this way, every yokai, no matter how seemingly minor, contributes to a larger ecosystem of imagination, ethics, and environmental awareness. These archetypes also reflect human emotions and societal values. The Tengu embodies respect for skill and humility. The kappa emphasizes caution and attentiveness. The kitsune and tanuki celebrate cleverness and curiosity. And the rokurokubi reminds us of hidden complexity in ourselves and others. Through their interactions with humans, these yokai provide lessons in patience, observation, morality, and empathy. They are neither entirely frightening nor wholly comforting. Their presence encourages reflection, imagination, and a gentle awareness of the world's unpredictability. It is in this nuanced balance that yokai stories achieve an enduring appeal. Many stories also highlight the adaptability of these archetypes across time and region. A Tengu might be fearsome in one tale and protective in another, a kappa mischievous here and helpful there, a kitsune trickster or guardian depending on the storyteller. This flexibility allows the archetypes to remain fresh, relevant, and engaging, while maintaining their core essence. Listeners can recognize familiar traits even as the narrative shifts, creating a sense of continuity and connection while keeping the imagination active. The archetypes serve as anchors in the vast, fluid world of yokai, helping audiences navigate a landscape of endless possibility without losing a sense of coherence or rhythm. The stories of these archetypes are also carefully crafted to engage the senses and the mind. Descriptions of the Tengu soaring through misty mountain skies, of the kappa's reflection in rippling water, of a kitsune's tail flicking under a moonlit tree, all create vivid, immersive imagery. Listeners are drawn into the environment as much as the narrative, experiencing the subtle suspense, gentle tension, and reflective moments that define yokai storytelling. The calm pacing, rhythmic unfolding, and careful attention to detail make these stories particularly well-suited to a bedtime or reflective listening experience. They soothe the imagination while engaging it, offering both comfort and wonder in equal measure. In encountering these archetypal yokai, we see more than creatures or legends. We see a framework for understanding the world, human behavior, and the rhythms of life. Each spirit embodies lessons, values, and reflections, gently guiding humans through curiosity, caution, and contemplation. Through them, we perceive a culture tuned to the subtlety of nature, the depth of human emotion, and the power of imagination. By exploring these archetypes, we step further into the world of yokai, encountering familiar patterns and yet remaining open to surprise, mystery, and quiet reflection as each story unfolds gently, like a breeze moving through the trees, carrying whispers of centuries past. As the world of yokai unfolds, one cannot help but notice the subtle role of everyday objects in giving life to spirits and mysteries. In a culture where the ordinary and the extraordinary intertwine, it was not only forests, rivers, or mountains that harbored yokai. The objects people used daily could take on spirits of their own. These were the tsukumagami, artifact that, after a century of use, developed consciousness and personality. A humble teapot, a forgotten umbrella, or a well-worn fan could awaken with a mischievous mind, quietly observing the humans who handled them, sometimes aiding them, sometimes playing pranks. The tsukumagami reflect a profound awareness in Japanese culture that even the most mundane elements of life are imbued with energy, memory, and intention, reminding humans to treat their belongings with respect and care. Imagine, for a moment, a quiet room in an old house filled with the soft glow of evening. An umbrella leans against the wall, forgotten after a rainy day, and in that stillness it begins to stay. Perhaps it tiptoes across the floor, taps lightly against the wall, or disappears only to reappear somewhere else entirely. No harm is meant, yet there is a presence that demands attention, curiosity, and gentle caution. In this way, tsukumagami invite reflection on the passage of time, the relationships between humans and the objects they use, and the subtle ways life extends beyond human perception. They teach mindfulness, encouraging people to observe carefully and act with intention in even the smallest acts. Tsukumagami also mirror the duality seen in other yokai. They can be playful, teasing humans with harmless tricks, or they can express displeasure if treated carelessly. A neglected tool might suddenly refuse to work, a broom might sweep on its own, and a lantern might flicker unpredictably. These small mysteries inspire stories passed down through generations, each tale reinforcing a gentle respect for the ordinary, a recognition that life's magic can reside in the smallest corners of daily existence. In this way, tsukumagami bridge the human world with the supernatural, revealing that consciousness and wonder need not be grand or distant. They can reside quietly in familiar places. The presence of animated objects is often intertwined with lessons in morality or mindfulness. A story might tell of a fan that grows impatient with its owner's laziness, creating subtle chaos until attention is paid to proper care. Another tale might recount a teapot that serves tea more deliciously when the family treats it with reverence, blending practical life lessons with imaginative narrative. These stories operate on multiple levels. They entertain, they teach, and they guide reflection. Through them, ordinary life becomes a gentle meditation, a place where curiosity, imagination, and moral understanding coexist harmoniously. The concept of tsukumagami also highlights a broader theme in yokai mythology, the idea that life, spirit, and consciousness are not confined to humans or animals. Energy exists everywhere, in every object, and in every aspect of the natural world. Rocks, trees, rivers, tools, and household objects are all potential vessels for awareness. By recognizing potential for spirit in all things, humans develop a sense of humility, attentiveness, and ethical responsibility. The imagination is invited to roam freely, seeing life and agency in places it might otherwise overlook, and discovering wonder in the subtle movements of the world around them. Beyond objects, many yokai are deeply connected to human behavior and emotion, reflecting feelings and social norms in imaginative ways. Some spirits reward kindness, honesty, and diligence, while others challenge arrogance, laziness, or cruelty. A household spirit might help maintain order or harmony if treated with respect, and a field yokai might bless a crop if the laborers are careful and diligent. Through these narratives, yokai extend lessons from personal behavior to communal life, blending morality, practicality, and magic. Their stories guide humans in understanding their environment, each other, and themselves, offering reflections that are both imaginative and instructive. It is also fascinating to observe how these objects and domestic spirits coexist with the more formidable yokai of forests, rivers, and mountains. While a tengu might test a warrior's skill and humility high in the mountains, a tsukumagami quietly observed the household below, nudging human behavior in subtle ways. Both types of spirits serve to teach lessons and evoke reflection, but the scale and tone differ. Large, imposing yokai inspire or caution and attentive respect for the broader world, while smaller, domestic spirits cultivate mindfulness, attentiveness, and imagination within the ordinary rhythm of daily life. Together, they create a layered understanding of the world, where magic and mystery pervade every level of existence. Stories of animated objects also offer gentle suspense and curiosity, qualities essential to yokai storytelling. Listeners are invited to imagine the world in motion, a fan that sways when no one is near, a broom that sweeps a pattern on the floor, or a mirror that reflects something slightly unusual. The subtlety of these occurrences is key. The stories do not overwhelm the imagination, but instead encourage careful observation, reflection, and slow, immersive engagement. These gentle prompts awaken curiosity, enhance imagination, and create a sense of calm intrigue, perfectly suited for an experience of quiet reflection or bedtime listening. The tsukumagami further illustrate the adaptability of yokai narratives. Just as rivers, mountains, and forests harbor diverse spirits that change roles, behaviors, and lessons depending on the tale, domestic objects too can shift in personality, temperament, and narrative function. A broom might be playful in one story and admonishing in another. A lantern might act as a guiding presence in one narrative and a trickster in another. This fluidity allows the listener to anticipate variation while recognizing familiar patterns, reinforcing both imagination and attentiveness. It is this dynamic quality that makes yokai mythology enduring and endlessly engaging, allowing ordinary and extraordinary elements to coexist seamlessly. Through these tales, humans are invited to experience the world with heightened awareness and curiosity. Every object, every shadow, every subtle shift in the environment becomes a potential doorway to reflection, imagination, and quiet delight. Tsukumagami are not simply about trickery or magic. They are about connection, mindfulness, and respect. They encourage humans to pause, observe, and consider the hidden life of things that might otherwise be overlooked. By doing so, the stories cultivate a gentle awareness of the extraordinary woven into the fabric of everyday life, a sense of wonder that extends beyond the narrative and into lived experience. In encountering these spirits, listeners begin to understand a central principle of yokai mythology, that the world is alive with presence, consciousness, and possibility. Whether in the grandeur of mountains and rivers or the intimacy of a home, spirits exist to teach, challenge, delight, and inspire reflection. The tsukumagami, in their playful or admonishing ways, remind us that even the smallest aspect of life hold meaning and potential for discovery. Through their stories, the imagination is invited to roam freely, the mind is gently engaged, and a quiet sense of connection to the world around us is nurtured. In this way, the domestic, everyday spirits of yokai mythology reveal as much wonder and insight as the more imposing creatures of forest, river, and mountain, creating a fully immersive, layered, and deeply reflective world. Among the most fascinating aspects of yokai mythology is a connection between these spirits and human emotion, memory, and the passage of time. While many yokai inhabit forests, rivers, mountains, or everyday objects, a significant number exist in the liminal spaces of human experience, moments of fear, longing, sorrow, or curiosity. These are the spirits that reflect the inner world, giving form to feelings that are often difficult to articulate. They move silently in stories, whispering to the listener, testing perception, and encouraging reflection. By doing so, they remind humans that the unseen world is not only around them but within them, shaped by imagination, memory, and the subtle current of emotion that flow through daily life. Consider, for instance, the eerie, or ghostly spirits that often appear in tales of lingering sorrow or unresolved tension. Unlike many yokai tied to nature or objects, eerie are closely connected to human experience, often arising from strong emotions like grief, betrayal, or unfulfilled desire. Their stories evoke quiet tension rather than sudden fright, creating a reflective space for listeners to explore feelings of loss, regret, or longing. In some narratives, a yōkai appears not to punish but to communicate, to reveal a story, or to teach a lesson that bridges the living and the dead. Their presence is a reminder that emotion itself can take on form, and that the unseen world is shaped as much by feeling as by physical phenomena. Similarly, other yokai embody curiosity, mischief, or subtle guidance, reflecting the psychological and social dimensions of human life. The Zashikiwarashi, a small childlike spirit, is said to inhabit homes and bring good fortune to families that acknowledge and care for it. Its presence evokes warmth, attentiveness, and subtle reflection on human kindness and hospitality. A family who notices small, unexplained occurrences, the laughter of a child in an empty room, the soft movement of toys, or the shifting of objects, is encouraged to maintain harmony, generosity, and care within the household. In this way, yokai narratives nurture both imagination and morality, encouraging humans to consider not only the natural world but also their own behaviors, relationships, and emotional landscapes. The subtlety of these stories is essential. Unlike overtly frightening tales, the emphasis is on gentle tension, curiosity, and reflection. A shadow moving in the corner of a room, a sudden draft across a corridor, or the sound of a faint voice can suggest the presence of a spirit, inviting the listener to engage imagination and perception carefully. These understated elements cultivate mindfulness, a sense of wonder, and an appreciation for subtlety in both the supernatural and the ordinary. By doing so, the stories mirror life itself, where attention, empathy, and observation reveal deeper layers of experience, and where mystery is often more compelling than certainty. Time, too, plays a significant role in yokai mythology, particularly in tales where spirits are tied to memory or legacy. Many yokai, whether objects, animals, or ghostly beings, are thought to carry traces of the past, memories of lives once lived, actions once taken, or emotions once felt. A tsukumagami, for example, may retain the imprint of 100 years of human use, carrying within it the energy and intention of countless hands that have touched it. Similarly, a yōkai may linger because of unresolved matters from life, seeking closure or understanding. In both cases, these spirits serve as vessels of time, connecting the present with the past in gentle, reflective ways. They remind humans that actions, intentions, and care leave lasting impressions, and that the unseen world is deeply intertwined with a continuum of history and memory. Emotions, memory, and time often intersect in tales that emphasize caution, reflection, or empathy. A traveler wandering too far from home may encounter spirits that mirror their fear or curiosity, teaching them lessons in attentiveness and humility. A household may be graced or unsettled by yokai whose presence reflects the care, harmony, or discord of the family. These narratives use the supernatural to explore internal landscapes as vividly as external ones, allowing listeners to contemplate their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in a safe, imaginative space. The calm pacing and gentle suspense of these stories make them ideal for reflective listening, guiding the imagination without overwhelming it. The psychological dimension of yokai also includes spirits that challenge perception and understanding. Shape-shifting beings like the kitsune or tanuki may appear human or animal, testing the observer's discernment, patience, and insight. Encounters with these yokai are exercises in careful observation, teaching listeners that appearances can be deceptive, that intuition matters, and that reflection often reveals deeper truths. In this way, yokai are as much guides to the mind as they are inhabitants of the natural or supernatural world. They invite engagement, curiosity, and gentle introspection, offering subtle lessons through narrative rather than direct instruction. Another fascinating element is the interplay between fear and fascination. Even spirits that are potentially harmful or unsettling rarely induce panic in traditional stories. Instead, they create a measured tension that invites calm attention, reflection, and engagement with the imagination. The unknown is both intriguing and instructive, allowing listeners to explore emotions such as caution, empathy, and curiosity safely. A shadow that flickers unexpectedly, a sudden whisper in the forest, or a subtle movement in a room becomes an opportunity for reflection rather than fright. In this way, yokai stories cultivate an inner attentiveness, offering both entertainment and quiet psychological engagement. In many ways, the yokai that inhabit emotional and liminal spaces function as bridges between worlds. They connect the human to the spiritual, the past to the present, and the observable to the imagined. By giving form to feeling, memory, and subtle phenomena, they offer humans a lens through which to understand experience, behavior, and relationships. They also remind listeners that the world is alive with possibility, that even ordinary spaces may harbor hidden stories, and that imagination is a powerful tool for understanding both the visible and invisible realms. In this quiet, reflective engagement, yokai are not simply creatures. They are companions, guides, and mirrors, gently leading humans into contemplation, mindfulness, and wonder. Finally, these tales underscore the enduring nature of yokai in Japanese culture. The spirits that reflect emotion, memory, and time are often woven seamlessly into daily life, from domestic spaces to natural landscapes. Their stories persist because they resonate deeply with universal human experiences: fear, curiosity, loss, joy, and reflection. By engaging with these narratives, listeners learn to perceive the world more attentively, to honor both visible and invisible presences, and to cultivate a sense of connection with past and present alike. In this way, yokai serve as subtle teachers, guiding humans through complexities of life with imagination, respect, and gentle suspense. As we move deeper into the world of yokai, it becomes clear that these spirits are more than isolated phenomena. They form a vast, interconnected web of mythology, reflecting cultural values, human behavior, and the ebb and flow of nature itself. Each yokai, whether mischievous, protective, or frightening, has a place within this tapestry, interacting subtly with humans, animals, and even other spirits. They create a universe where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist, where every sound, shadow, and movement might carry significance, and where imagination and perception are vital tools for understanding the world. This interconnectedness is a hallmark of yokai mythology, revealing a worldview that values observation, reflection, and harmony with the unseen. One of the most compelling aspects of this interconnectedness is the way yokai stories often intersect with human communities. Villagers, travelers, and city dwellers alike encountered tales of these spirits, each narrative tailored to its environment and audience. In rural regions, yokai might manifest as river spirits like the kappa, teaching respect for water and caution near dangerous currents. In mountainous areas, tengu and other aerial beings appeared, symbolizing humility, skill, and reverence for the natural world. In towns and villages, tsukumagami and household spirits taught attentiveness, kindness, and respect for objects and ancestors. Each setting provided a stage for interaction, ensuring that the spirits remained relevant, meaningful, and engaging for those who lived alongside them. Furthermore, yokai often interacted not just with humans, but with one another. These encounters might be subtle, such as a kitsune leading a traveler into the territory of a tengu, or more elaborate, with groups of yokai appearing together in stories to create complex narratives of mischief, conflict, or cooperation. Such interactions demonstrate that yokai were not merely isolated figures, but part of a larger mythological ecosystem. This complexity enriches the stories, offering multiple layers of engagement for listeners. One could focus on the human experience, observe the interactions between spirits, or consider the underlying moral or philosophical lessons. The narratives are multidimensional, allowing imagination to roam freely while remaining gently guided by the rhythm of the story. The interplay between yokai and humans also reflects a deep understanding of behavior, morality, and consequence. Spirits often acted as mirrors, reflecting virtues and flaws, curiosity and caution, humility and arrogance. For instance, a clever traveler might outwit a mischievous kitsune, demonstrating intelligence and resourcefulness, while a reckless or greedy character might suffer consequences at the hands of an oni or tanuki. These narratives were not designed to terrify indiscriminately. They were carefully crafted to balance suspense with reflection, allowing listeners to explore human behavior in a safe and imaginative space. Through these stories, yokai become teachers, guiding humans with lessons embedded in narrative rather than overt instruction. Nature itself played a central role in this interconnected web. Mountains, rivers, forests, and fields were not simply backdrops. They were active participants, imbued with life, energy, and presence. A yokai might emerge from a river's reflection, a shadow cast by an ancient tree, or a breeze rustling through bamboo. This integration of environment and myth encourages mindfulness and attentiveness, suggesting that the natural world is alive with agency and meaning. Humans were invited to observe, listen, and interact respectfully, learning to read subtle signs and respond with care. By merging the physical and supernatural worlds, yokai stories create an immersive experience that teaches both wonder and responsibility. Even ordinary objects became part of this network through the presence of tsukumagami or other household spirits. These beings link the domestic sphere to the broader universe of yokai, ensuring that magic and awareness permeate every layer of life. A teapot, a broom, or a lantern may seem insignificant, yet in these stories they possess agency, memory, and personality. Their interactions with humans mirror those of larger spirits, teaching lessons of attentiveness, respect, and imagination. By including both grand and subtle elements in the same mythological ecosystem, yokai narratives demonstrate that wonder and learning can be found everywhere, from the forest to the hearth, from the mountain peak to the kitchen floor. The connections between yokai also illustrate how mythology evolves over time. Stories are passed down, adapted, and transformed to reflect new cultural realities, local customs, or audience needs. A tengu may be fearsome in one story, protective in another. A tsukumagami may behave playfully in one village and seriously in another. This adaptability ensures that the mythology remains alive and relevant, responding to changes in society while preserving its core lessons and imagery. Listeners are invited to recognize familiar patterns, anticipate variations, and engage with narrative complexity, all while experiencing the soothing rhythm and immersive flow that define yokai storytelling. A key feature of this interconnectedness is a blending of fear, curiosity, and reflection. Yokai stories rarely overwhelm the listener with terror. Instead, they create a gentle tension that engages imagination and awareness. A shadow in the corner of a room, a ripple in the water, or an unusual sound in the forest becomes an opportunity to consider cause, consequence, and possibility. Listeners are encouraged to pay attention, observe patterns, and reflect on both the natural and supernatural worlds. In this way, yokai stories cultivate mindfulness, curiosity, and ethical reflection, all within a narrative framework that is immersive, calming, and subtly instructive. The interconnected nature of yokai myths also encourages empathy and understanding. By depicting spirits with varied intentions, personalities, and temperaments, the stories teach that beings, human, animal, or supernatural, are not one-dimensional. Mischievous spirits may play pranks, but they can also offer guidance. Fearsome beings may test courage, but they can also teach respect and humility. By engaging with these narratives, listeners learn to navigate complexity, recognize nuance, and appreciate the richness of both human and non-human perspectives. The myths cultivate imagination, reflection, and a sense of connectedness to the world around them. Ultimately, this web of interaction among yokai, humans, objects, and nature create a mythology that is expansive yet intimate, complex yet calming. Each story functions as a thread in a larger tapestry, weaving together morality, imagination, observation, and reflection. The listener is gently guided through a world where every action, object, and emotion may hold significance, and where curiosity, respect, and mindfulness are continually rewarded. By exploring these connections, we begin to understand that yokai are not just spirits or monsters. They are embodiments of cultural wisdom, imaginative exploration, and human insight, all interwoven into a cohesive, immersive universe. In experiencing the interconnected world of yokai, one realizes that every tale, every encounter, and every subtle detail serves a purpose. They teach, guide, and entertain, but they also encourage reflection, empathy, and awareness. From the grand forests and mountains to the intimate spaces of the home, from mischievous pranks to solemn lessons, yokai offer a lens through which humans can engage with the world thoughtfully and imaginatively. In this intricate web of spirits, stories, and environments, listeners are invited to explore, wonder, and reflect, creating a sense of calm, immersive connection that resonates long after the tale is told. This interconnectedness is the essence of yokai mythology, a living, breathing network of lessons, reflections, and imagination, linking humans to the hidden and the extraordinary at every turn. As we continue exploring the world of yokai, it becomes evident that many of these spirits serve as guardians, protectors of sacred spaces, natural landscapes, and human communities. While some yokai are playful, mischievous, or even frightening, others embody a sense of watchfulness, responsibility, and care. They oversee rivers, mountains, forests, and homes, maintaining balance and ensuring that humans live in harmony with both nature and the supernatural world. These protective yokai remind listeners that respect, attentiveness, and thoughtful action are essential, and that unseen forces are always present, subtly guiding life and preserving equilibrium. One of the clearest examples of a guardian yokai is the tengu, a bird-like spirit often associated with mountains and sacred forests. While tengu are known for their trickster-like qualities and their tests of courage, they also serve as protectors of their domains. Travelers who show humility, respect, and attentiveness may find guidance or assistance from these spirits, while arrogance or recklessness can provoke warnings or minor punishments. In this way, the tengu embodies a duality of care and challenge. It ensures safety and protection, but also reinforces lessons of discipline, humility, and observation. Their presence and stories remind humans that protection often comes with responsibility, and that balance between boldness and caution is necessary when navigating both the natural and spiritual worlds. Other yokai, such as the kodama, spirits inhabiting trees, serve as guardians of the forests. These spirits are often invisible, but their presence is keenly felt through subtle signs, a rustling of leaves, a gentle breeze, or the shifting of shadows among the trees. Villagers are taught to respect the trees and the forest, understanding that the kodama protect not only the individual trees but the broader ecosystem itself. By personifying the trees and imbuing them with consciousness, these stories cultivate respect for nature, encourage ethical interaction with the environment, and emphasize the interconnectedness of all living things. The forest becomes more than a backdrop. It becomes a living, breathing domain of guardianship, awareness, and quiet, enduring presence. In addition to natural spaces, yokai can serve as guardians of human settlements. The Zashikiwarashi, a small childlike household spirit, is said to inhabit homes and bring good fortune to families that treat it kindly. Its presence reinforces the importance of care, attention, and harmony within domestic life. Families that neglect the spirit or fail to observe proper respect may experience subtle misfortune, while those who acknowledge and nurture it often find blessings and happiness. In this way, the yokai serves as both a moral compass and protective presence, encouraging human communities to cultivate attentiveness, kindness, and social harmony in the spaces they inhabit. Water spirits, such as a kappa, offer another layer of guardianship. While often playful or mischievous, these beings also serve as custodians of rivers, ponds, and lakes, ensuring that humans approach these spaces with respect and care. In many stories, the kappa punishes those who act recklessly near water or rewards those who demonstrate courage, ingenuity, or humility. Their duality reinforces lessons of vigilance, respect for natural forces, and awareness of human limitations. By embodying the power and unpredictability of water, Kappa remind listeners that protection and caution often go hand in hand, and that understanding the rhythms and dangers of the environment is an essential part of living harmoniously with the world. Even spirits that appear frightening or potentially dangerous can act as guardians in their own right. Oni, horned demons often depicted as fearsome forces of morality, may challenge humans who act with cruelty, greed, or disrespect. Though their presence can evoke fear, it also offers protection by maintaining ethical and social balance. Their lessons are direct yet measured, ensuring that humans remain mindful of consequences and the broader patterns of human behavior and community welfare. In this way, the more intimidating yokai are not merely forces of chaos. They are guardians of moral and social equilibrium, balancing the playful and benevolent spirits within the mythological landscape. Guardianship among yokai is often subtle and indirect, encouraging observation, reflection, and mindfulness rather than overt intervention. A tree spirit may whisper through rustling leaves, a household yokai may rearrange objects to prompt attention, or a river spirit may create minor challenges to teach prudence. These quiet acts cultivate an awareness of surroundings, a sensitivity to nuance, and an appreciation for the interconnectedness of life. Humans are invited to pay careful attention, to interpret signs, and to act thoughtfully, lessons that extend beyond the immediate story and into daily life. In this way, guardianship in yokai mythology is as much about nurturing human perception and responsibility as it is about preserving physical or spiritual spaces. The protective roles of yokai also highlight the cultural principle of reciprocity. Respect, care, and attentiveness towards spirits, nature, and objects often result in protection, guidance, or blessings. Conversely, neglect, disrespect, or harmful behavior may bring misfortune or admonishment. These narratives cultivate a sense of balance, emphasizing that human actions have consequences and that maintaining harmony with the world, visible or invisible, is essential. Guardianship, then, is not merely about the spirit's power but about teaching humans to engage thoughtfully, ethically, and empathetically with the world around them. Many stories of guardian yokai also emphasize continuity and tradition. The spirits are often tied to specific places, households, or objects over generations, creating a sense of enduring presence. The lessons they impart are consistent across time. Humility, attentiveness, respect, and care remain central themes. By framing guardianship in terms of long-term relationships, these narratives encourage humans to think beyond immediate concerns and to consider the ongoing impact of their actions. The yokai become silent teachers, guiding behavior, cultivating mindfulness, and nurturing ethical awareness across generations. Another notable aspect of guardianship is a careful balance between freedom and authority. Protective yokai do not impose themselves constantly. They appear selectively, intervene subtly, and allow humans a space to learn through observation and reflection. This measured approach mirrors a natural and social order, teaching that true protection often involves guidance rather than domination. Humans are empowered to act thoughtfully, to develop judgment, and to recognize consequences, all while being gently supported by the unseen presence of yokai. This principle underscores the depth of wisdom embedded within these stories, revealing a worldview where autonomy, responsibility, and care are deeply intertwined. In reflecting on the guardianship of yokai, one realizes that these spirits serve multiple roles simultaneously. They are teachers, moral guides, protectors, and mirrors of human behavior. They maintain balance within the natural and social worlds, encourage mindfulness and reflection, and nurture a sense of wonder and imagination. The calm, immersive storytelling style used to convey these tales allows listeners to absorb these lessons without fear, fostering a serene, contemplative engagement with the myths. Through the gentle presence of guardian yokai, humans are invited to recognize both the seen and unseen forces shaping their lives and to act with awareness, respect, and empathy in every interaction. Ultimately, the guardianship of yokai reflect a profound understanding of interconnectedness between humans, nature, spirits, and objects. By weaving protection, guidance, and moral insight into narratives that blend suspense, wonder, and calm reflection, these stories offer a comprehensive framework for living harmoniously within a complex, often unpredictable world. Listeners are encouraged to cultivate attentiveness, empathy, and respect, and to recognize that every action, choice, and observation contributes to a larger web of relationships and responsibilities. In this way, Guardian yokai embody both practical wisdom and imaginative richness, creating a mythology that is immersive, reflective, and deeply calming. As we journey further into the intricate tapestry of yokai mythology, it becomes clear that many of these spirits exist not merely as singular beings but as reflections of societal fears, aspirations, and moral lessons. They act as mirrors for human behavior, revealing the consequences of actions, the nuances of character, and the complexities of social interaction. Through their interactions with humans, animals, and the environment, yokai provide a subtle yet profound commentary on life, teaching lessons that are both practical and imaginative. These narratives encourage reflection, empathy, and attentiveness, weaving moral insights seamlessly into stories that are as immersive as they are calming. One of the most compelling ways in which yokai reflect human society is through their representation of consequence. Spirits often respond directly to human actions, rewarding virtue and punishing vice, yet they do so with a delicate touch rather than overwhelming force. For example, a greedy or boastful character might encounter a mischievous kitsune who plays a clever trick, exposing flaws without causing permanent harm. Conversely, someone who acts with kindness, humility, or ingenuity may be aided or blessed by the same spirit. These narratives create a sense of moral balance, demonstrating that actions have repercussions, but that lessons are often delivered gently, allowing reflection rather than panic or fear. In addition to moral guidance, yokai frequently embody social and cultural values. Many stories emphasize respect for tradition, the natural world, and community harmony. A tengu in the mountains may test a traveler's humility, indirectly reinforcing societal norms around behavior, courtesy, and awareness. Similarly, household spirits like the zashikiwarashi encourage attentiveness to domestic harmony, promoting care, responsibility, and cooperation within the family. By linking supernatural phenomena to everyday life, yokai myths cultivate an understanding of how personal actions resonate within broader social and environmental contexts, teaching listeners to navigate both individual and collective responsibilities thoughtfully. Yokai also serve as vessels for understanding fear and uncertainty. Human life, particularly in historical Japan, was fraught with unpredictability. Storms, illness, and the perils of the natural world were constant companions. Spirits such as kappa or oni symbolize these uncertainties, providing tangible form for abstract dangers. By giving shape to fear, yokai allow humans to conceptualize, engage with, and even prepare for the unknown. Importantly, these narratives do so in a measured, calm manner. The tension is sufficient to hold attention and evoke reflection, but not so intense as to overwhelm. This careful modulation makes the stories suitable for immersive, contemplative listening, offering a sense of safety while exploring complex emotional terrain. An essential aspect of this societal reflection is the use of community-based storytelling. Many yokai tales were shared orally, passed from elders to children, travelers, and neighbors. Through repetition, variation, and embellishment, these stories reinforce social cohesion and shared moral understanding. Each retelling served both to entertain and to educate, subtly embedding ethical principles, practical advice, and imaginative exploration into daily life. The communal nature of these narratives also allowed for flexibility. Spirits might behave differently depending on the storyteller, the audience, or local customs, creating a dynamic mythology that remained relevant and engaging across generations. The connection between yokai and human emotion is also profound. Many spirits are closely linked to feelings such as curiosity, envy, longing, or sorrow. For instance, the yurei, ghostly spirits arising from unresolved emotions or tragic circumstances, provide a framework for exploring grief, loss, and reflection. Their stories do not rely on shock or horror. Rather, they encourage empathy, understanding, and contemplation. Similarly, playful spirits like tanuki or kitsune evoke curiosity and imagination, prompting listeners to consider perspective, adaptability, and ingenuity. Through these emotional engagements, yokai narratives foster an intimate connection between the listener and the supernatural world, creating an immersive experience that resonates on both psychological and imaginative levels. Yokai also illuminate the relationship between humans and the environment. Forests, rivers, mountains, and even objects within homes are depicted as imbued with life and consciousness. Spirits serve as mediators between humans and these spaces, teaching respect, attentiveness, and ethical interaction. A kodama, inhabiting a tree, might punish carelessness or reward consideration, while a tsukumagami transforms a neglected household item into a source of gentle mischief. Through these interactions, yokai highlight the importance of observation and mindfulness, revealing that understanding the world requires attention to both seen and unseen forces. The natural and domestic spheres are thus intertwined with moral and imaginative instruction, making every encounter meaningful. The narratives often balance the elements of danger and delight. Mischievous yokai introduce surprise and curiosity, encouraging problem-solving and attentiveness, while more formidable spirits provide cautionary lessons and moral reinforcement. The interplay between these elements sustains engagement while maintaining a gentle, reflective tone. Listeners are guided through suspense and wonder, yet the overarching feeling remains one of calmation. This balance is particularly important in stories intended for contemplative listening or bedtime narration, where the goal is to stimulate imagination, reflection, and ethical understanding without invoking fear or anxiety. Another key dimension is the role of transformation. Many yokai possess shape-shifting abilities or appear differently depending on circumstances, reflecting the fluidity of human experience and perception. Kitsune, tanuki, and various shape-shifting spirits encourage attentiveness, critical thinking, and reflection on the nature of appearances. By demonstrating that nothing is entirely fixed or predictable, these stories teach flexibility, adaptability, and perception, qualities valuable not only in myth but also in everyday life. Transformation also deepens the narrative complexity, allowing listeners to explore multiple layers of meaning, personality, and consequence within a single story. The cumulative effect of these elements, moral reflection, social guidance, emotional engagement, environmental awareness, and narrative sophistication, is a mythology that is both expansive and intimate, practical, and imaginative. Yokai stories operate on multiple levels, offering entertainment, education, and meditation simultaneously. Each tale invites listeners to observe, reflect, and imagine, fostering a deep sense of connection to the world, the past, and the unseen forces that permeate life. The narratives are carefully paced, immersive, and layered, creating an experience that is both soothing and intellectually engaging, perfectly suited to calm, reflective listening. In conclusion, yokai function as mirrors, teachers, and guides. They reveal human strengths and weaknesses, illuminate societal values, explore emotional landscapes, and connect individuals to the natural and spiritual worlds. Their stories balance tension and reflection, danger and delight, playfulness and moral instruction. By engaging with these narratives, listeners cultivate empathy, imagination, attentiveness, and understanding, gaining insight into the interplay between human behavior, environment, and the unseen. Through this lens, yokai mythology emerges as a deeply reflective and immersive tradition, one that invites contemplation, nurtures curiosity, and gently guides humans toward wisdom, mindfulness, and harmony. As our journey through the realm of yokai continues, it becomes increasingly clear that these spirits are not merely symbols of fear or curiosity. They are deeply intertwined with cultural identity, local folklore, and the rhythms of daily life. Across Japan, every village, town, and region had its own stories, each featuring spirits adapted to the environment, the social structure, and the collective imagination of its people. Mountains, rivers, forests, homes, and even marketplaces became stages for yokai narratives, each tale offering insights into human behavior, social cohesion, and the natural world. The local variation of yokai illustrates a rich cultural tapestry, one in which imagination, morality, and observation are intimately connected. One of the most intriguing aspects of regional yokai is how geography shapes their characteristics and behaviors. Mountainous regions often feature tengu or other aerial spirits, emphasizing strength, vigilance, and respect for the natural world. In contrast, rivers and lakes are home to kappa or aquatic spirits, which teach attentiveness, caution, and humility in the face of potentially dangerous elements. Coastal areas may have stories of sea yokai, blending fear, fascination, and wonder into narratives that reflect the rhythms of tides and fishing life. In urban or domestic settings, tsukumagami and household spirits remind people to respect their belongings and maintain harmony within the home. Each yokai is finely attuned to its environment, reflecting the values, concerns, and imaginative priorities of the community that tells its story. Regional variation also highlights the adaptability of yokai stories over time. While the core principles of morality, attentiveness, and respect remain consistent, the manifestations of spirits, their names, and their behaviors evolve to meet local circumstances. A tengu in one village might be protective and wise, while in another it is mischievous and unpredictable. A kappa may act as a helpful guide in one story and a trickster in another. This fluidity ensures that yokai remain relevant, engaging, and culturally resonant, offering listeners both familiarity and novelty with every tale. The ability of these stories to adapt while retaining their essence is a testament to their enduring appeal and cultural significance. Many yokai stories also incorporate historical and societal context, weaving past events, local customs, and communal beliefs into the narrative fabric. Festivals, seasonal changes, and agricultural cycles often appear alongside tales of spirits, connecting the supernatural to everyday life. A kappa story may be told in the context of planting or harvesting, emphasizing the importance of timing, skill, and attentiveness. A tsukumagami tale may coincide with New Year rituals, reminding listeners of renewal, respect, and continuity. By linking yokai to the rhythms of human life, storytellers ensure that the myths remain meaningful, instructive, and intimately connected to lived experience, while maintaining a calming and reflective narrative tone. The social function of yokai within communities is equally significant. These spirits act as gentle regulators of behavior, teaching lessons about ethics, cooperation, and interpersonal relationships. A mischievous spirit might appear when someone acts arrogantly or greedily, prompting reflection and adjustment. A benevolent household spirit might reward kindness, diligence, or attentiveness, reinforcing positive behavior in subtle ways. In this sense, yokai are woven into the moral and social fabric of the community, guiding behavior without overt authority, and fostering a shared understanding of ethics, respect, and harmony. Listeners absorb these lessons as they are told, engaging with both narrative and morality in a reflective, immersive way. The layering of supernatural elements over ordinary life also creates a sense of enchantment and wonder. A rustling in the trees may signal a kodama, a sudden splash in the river a kappa, or a slight movement in the home a tsukumagami. These moments transform everyday experiences into encounters with the extraordinary, encouraging imagination, mindfulness, and attentiveness. The stories invite listeners to notice subtle details, interpret signs, and reflect on the hidden depths of both natural and domestic spaces. This interplay between the mundane and the magical is a hallmark of yokai storytelling, creating a calming, immersive experience that simultaneously engages curiosity and reflection. Emotion plays a vital role in these narratives. Many yokai are tied to human feelings such as longing, regret, curiosity, or joy. Eerie, or ghostly spirits, often arise from unresolved emotions, giving form to grief, sorrow, or desire. Tanuki and kitsune embody playful curiosity, prompting ingenuity and reflection. Kappa may evoke caution and respect, teaching lessons that blend practicality with moral insight. By incorporating emotion into the supernatural framework, storytellers ensure that yokai remain deeply relatable and reflective of human experience. Listeners are invited to explore their own feelings, empathize with the experiences of others, and contemplate the interplay of action, consequence, and imagination. The narrative techniques used in regional yokai storytelling enhance immersion and calm reflection. Descriptive imagery, gentle pacing, and subtle tension create a space where listeners can explore the narrative without fear or overwhelm. The presence of spirits is often hinted at rather than overtly shown, encouraging imagination to fill in the details and fostering engagement with the story. A shadow, a whisper, or a movement in the periphery becomes an invitation to explore the unseen, cultivating a reflective and meditative listening experience. This storytelling style is perfectly suited for bedtime or contemplative listening, offering both wonder and gentle guidance for the imagination. Interaction between humans and yokai frequently emphasizes reciprocity and respect. A character who honors tradition, shows humility, or treats nature and object with care may receive guidance, protection, or subtle blessings. Conversely, negligence, arrogance, or harm can provoke mischief, challenges, or minor consequences. These narratives foster an understanding of ethical engagement, attentiveness, and the importance of maintaining balance within both social and natural worlds. The subtlety of these lessons allows for reflection without fear, making the myths calming, immersive, and intellectually engaging. Regional yokai stories also provide continuity across generations. As tales are retold, adapted, and shared, the cultural and moral wisdom embedded within them persists. Children, travelers, and elders alike participate in the oral tradition, passing down knowledge, imagination, and ethical guidance in ways that reinforce cultural identity and communal values. The myths are living, evolving, and deeply connected to place, ensuring that each new generation experiences both the magic of the spirits and the enduring lessons they carry. Finally, the beauty of regional yokai lies in their capacity to connect humans to the wider world, both seen and unseen. Mountains, rivers, forests, households, and objects are imbued with meaning, creating a universe in which every space is alive, every action significant, and every observation valuable. By exploring these regional variations, listeners gain insight into the richness of cultural imagination, the interplay between environment and society, and the subtle ways in which mythology shapes perception, behavior, and reflection. The stories are immersive, calming, and endlessly fascinating, offering both relaxation and insight, imagination and reflection, as each spirit, place, and tale weaves into the larger tapestry of yokai mythology. As a tapestry of yokai mythology continues to unfold, one begins to notice the subtle interplay between legend and human creativity, where imagination gives shape to both fear and fascination. Yokai are not static. They are living stories, evolving with each retelling, shaped by the communities, environments, and emotional landscapes that encounter them. From playful tricksters to solemn guardians, these spirits reflect the complexity of human perception, blending morality, curiosity, and wonder into tales that linger in the mind long after they are heard. By weaving the extraordinary into the ordinary, yokai narratives create a unique space where imagination, reflection, and gentle suspense coexist. Central to this imaginative process is the concept of transformation. Many yokai are shapeshifters, capable of taking on forms that surprise, challenge, or delight humans. Kitsune, the fox spirits, are perhaps the most renowned example, assuming human guise to test perception, reward virtue, or play tricks on those who are arrogant or inattentive. Their transformations are never random. They are carefully tied to narrative purpose, reflecting lessons in observation, discernment, and ethical behavior. Similarly, tanuki, the playful raccoon dog spirits, employ mischief and disguise, turning everyday encounters into moments of reflection, creativity, and gentle amusement. Through these transformations, yokai teach that appearances can be deceiving, and that attention, empathy, and insight are essential for understanding the world around us. Another remarkable aspect of yokai storytelling is the balance of tension and calm. Even when spirits are mischievous or seemingly dangerous, the narratives are carefully paced to create gentle suspense rather than overwhelming fear. A sudden movement in a shadowed forest, a mysterious ripple across a river, or the faint laughter of a tsukumagami in a quiet home evokes curiosity and attentiveness rather than panic. This measured approach allows listeners to engage deeply with the story, exploring emotion, imagination, and reflection while remaining immersed in a calming, contemplative rhythm. The subtle tension fosters mindfulness, teaching audiences to observe, anticipate, and interpret without distress, a key characteristic of yokai narratives designed for immersive storytelling and relaxation. Yokai also serve as mirrors to human behavior, reflecting both virtues and flaws in ways that are accessible, engaging, and instructive. Spirits reward diligence, humility, and kindness, while tricksters and more formidable beings challenge arrogance, greed, or carelessness. The lessons are delivered through narrative action, often subtly woven into daily life or natural settings, so that the learning feels experimental rather than prescriptive. A traveler who respects a forest may find guidance from a tengu, a household that maintains harmony and care may be blessed by a zashikiwarashi, and a curious mind that approaches mystery thoughtfully may encounter a kitsune or tanuki with delight rather than harm. Through these interactions, yokai reinforce the values, ethics, and attentiveness that underpin human behavior, while fostering imagination and wonder. The natural world plays a central role in enhancing these lessons. Mountains, rivers, forests, and fields are alive with spirit, meaning, and narrative possibility. The kodomo whisper through the leaves of ancient trees, kappa glides silently beneath the water's surface, and tengu observe from high peaks, all embodying the interplay between environment and mythology. By embedding stories within these spaces, listeners are encouraged to perceive nature not only as scenery, but as a living, interactive presence. Attention to detail, respect for the unseen, and careful observation becomes central to understanding and interacting with both the narrative and the natural world, reinforcing mindfulness and curiosity in a gentle, reflective way. Objects in domestic spaces are equally significant in yokai mythology. Tsukumagami, objects imbued with spirit after long use, remind listeners that care, respect, and attentiveness extend even to the smallest aspects of life. A broom may sweep of its own accord if neglected, a lantern may flicker mysteriously, or a teapot may serve tea in playful ways. These small, domestic spirits echo the lessons of larger, natural yokai, emphasizing that attention and care are essential at every level of existence. In doing so, the stories create a layered universe where wonder, imagination, and reflection pervade both extraordinary and ordinary realms. Emotion is woven deeply into yokai narratives. Many spirits arise from or reflect human feelings: grief, longing, curiosity, or joy. Eerie, spirits of unresolved sorrow or desire, evoke contemplation, empathy, and reflection, providing safe spaces for listeners to explore complex emotions. Playful spirits, by contrast, spark curiosity, creativity, and delight, transforming everyday experiences into opportunity for reflection and engagement. The emotional resonance of these stories encourages both introspection and imaginative exploration, allowing the audience to connect with the narrative on multiple levels, deepening immersion and enhancing the meditative quality of listening. Storytelling techniques further enhance the immersive quality of yokai myths. The use of vivid imagery, detailed description, and careful pacing draws listeners into the narrative world. Subtle hints, flickering shadows, rustling leaves, mysterious noises, invite imagination to fill in details, creating a participatory experience where the audience engages actively with both story and setting. The calm rhythm of narration, combined with gentle suspense and imaginative richness, cultivates relaxation, attentiveness, and quiet contemplation. This stylistic approach is particularly suited to the educational storytelling niche, providing both learning and soothing, reflective engagement. Interconnectedness is another defining feature of these stories. Yokai are rarely isolated. They interact with each other, humans, and the environment in ways that illustrate balance, reciprocity, and consequence. Spirits may collaborate, challenge, or observe one another, creating a dynamic ecosystem of relationships and narrative potential. Human actions are woven into this system, linking behavior, morality, and awareness to the broader web of the unseen world. By exploring these relationships, listeners gain insight into the interconnectedness of all things, from natural environments to household objects, and from individual actions to communal outcomes. Cultural continuity is preserved through these tales, as stories are adapted, retold, and passed down through generations. Regional variations, local customs, and historical events influence how yokai are depicted, but the underlying principles, curiosity, mindfulness, respect, and reflection, remain constant. This adaptability ensures that yokai remain relevant, resonant, and engaging across time, providing enduring lessons and imaginative experiences for every listener. Through these stories, mythology becomes a living, evolving tradition, one that bridges past, present, and future while nurturing creativity and ethical awareness. Finally, the imaginative richness of yokai allows for endless exploration. Each spirit, story, and setting offers multiple layers of meaning, reflection, and engagement. Whether contemplating the moral lessons embedded in a mischievous kitsune encounter, appreciating the protective presence of a tengu, or marveling at the quiet mischief of a tsukumagami, listeners are invited to explore, wonder, and reflect. The myths provide a space for contemplation, empathy, and curiosity, blending education with relaxation and narrative with meditation. In this expansive, interconnected, and immersive universe, yokai offer more than entertainment. They provide guidance, reflection, and profound connection to the unseen rhythms of the world. As we delve further into the rich and intricate world of yokai, it becomes apparent that these spirits are deeply tied to the rhythm of human life, serving as reflections of culture, emotion, and imagination. While some yokai are mischievous tricksters, others act as moral guides or guardians of the natural and domestic worlds. Their stories provide lessons that extend far beyond fear or curiosity, guiding humans in understanding their environment, their relationships, and the unseen currents that shape daily life. Each encounter, whether with a playful tanuki or a solemn tengu, is a gentle reminder that the world is alive with meaning and that attention, respect, and reflection are essential for living harmoniously. One of the most captivating aspects of yokai is their ability to transform ordinary experiences into extraordinary moments. Everyday life is infused with subtle wonder, as spirits inhabit rivers, forests, homes, and even objects. Tsukumagami, all long-used objects that have gained spirit, demonstrate this beautifully. A humble broom, a lantern, or a teapot can harbor consciousness and personality, turning mundane chores into encounters with the unseen. These spirits reward care, attentiveness, and creativity, while also playfully challenging negligence or carelessness. In this way, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and listeners are encouraged to see the world through a lens of observation, imagination, and gentle curiosity. The natural world, too, is central to the narratives of yokai. Mountains, forests, rivers, and lakes are more than mere settings. They are active participants, inhabited by spirits whose presence conveys lessons, guidance, and reflection. Kappa dwell in rivers, teaching humility, attentiveness, and respect for potentially dangerous spaces. Tengu reside in mountainous forests, embodying wisdom, vigilance, and a careful balance between human ambition and the power of nature. Kodama, the spirits of trees, remind humans that every living thing possesses intrinsic value, and that interactions with the environment are a reflection of ethical engagement. By personifying natural elements, yokai narratives cultivate mindfulness and a deep, abiding respect for the world. Emotion is another profound element woven into these tales. Many yokai arise from human feelings, whether grief, longing, curiosity, or joy. Eerie, ghostly spirits of unresolved sorrow, provide narratives that allow listeners to explore the nuances of loss and reflection safely. Similarly, playful spirits such as tanuki and kitsune encourage curiosity, problem-solving, and ethical discernment, transforming potentially frightening encounters into moments of learning and imaginative engagement. Through these emotional connections, yokai stories create a deeply personal resonance, inviting reflection, empathy, and contemplation. Moral and social lessons are subtly embedded in the interactions between humans and yokai. Spirits often reward humility, kindness, and attentiveness while offering gentle admonition or clever challenges to those who act selfishly, arrogantly, or carelessly. For example, a kitsune may play a trick on a boastful traveler to teach humility, or a zeshikawarashi may reward a family that demonstrates care and harmony within their home. These lessons are never forced. They unfold naturally within the story, allowing listeners to absorb wisdom through observation and imagination. In this way, yokai mythology reinforces ethical behavior and social cohesion in ways that are immersive, reflective, and calming. The storytelling techniques employed in yokai narratives further enhance their immersive quality. Vivid descriptions, careful pacing, and subtle tension draw the listener into the world of spirits without overwhelming them. The rustle of leaves, the ripple of a river, or the flicker of a shadow is never gratuitous. Each detail serves to encourage mindfulness, observation, and reflection. This careful modulation of suspense allows listeners to explore curiosity, caution, and imagination in a safe, contemplative space, making these stories ideal for immersive listening or bedtime narration. Interconnectedness is another defining feature of yokai mythology. Spirits often interact not only with humans but with one another, forming a complex ecosystem where actions and consequences ripple across multiple realms. A playful tanuki may lead a traveler into the territory of a tengu, testing observation and respect. A kodama may subtly influence the outcome of an encounter in the forest, rewarding attentiveness or teaching patience. These layered interactions create a dynamic, living mythology where every element, human, spirit, or environmental, is woven into a network of relationships that encourages reflection, curiosity, and ethical mindfulness. Yokai also adapt fluidly to regional and historical contexts, reflecting the diversity of human experience. Coastal communities, mountain villages, and urban households each develop unique stories that address local concerns, natural hazards, and cultural values. A kappa story in a river fishing village emphasized caution near water, while a Tengu tale in the mountains reinforced humility and respect for skill. Urban households celebrated Zeshikuwarashi to encourage domestic harmony. These adaptations allowed yokai myths to remain relevant and engaging across time, ensuring that lessons in behavior, empathy, and mindfulness were preserved for each generation. The duality of challenge and protection is a recurring theme in yokai tales. Spirits often embody both mischief and guidance, danger and safety, reflection and delight. Kappa, while potentially mischievous or threatening, also provide lessons in prudence, problem-solving, and environmental awareness. Tengu challenge arrogance while offering wisdom and protection to the humble. This duality fosters engagement and reflection, prompting listeners to consider consequences, develop discernment, and approach the world with attentiveness. Through these stories, humans learn that challenges are often intertwined with opportunities for growth, observation, and imaginative exploration. Emotion, imagination, and ethics converge in the narrative arc of many yokai tales. By blending suspense, moral reflection, and gentle storytelling, these myths provide a safe space to explore curiosity, fear, creativity, and empathy. The listener is invited to imagine, reflect, and learn, absorbing lessons not as prescriptions but as part of an immersive journey through human experience, natural rhythms, and the unseen world. In doing so, yokai mythology nurtures both intellectual and emotional engagement, creating stories that are soothing, reflective, and rich in imaginative depth. Finally, the enduring appeal of yokai lies in their ability to connect humans to the extraordinary in everyday life. Mountains, forests, rivers, homes, and objects all become stages for encounters that foster reflection, observation, and curiosity. The spirits guide, teach, and inspire, transforming the ordinary into a world full of subtle wonder, ethical reflection, and imaginative exploration. By engaging with these stories, listeners develop mindfulness, empathy, and creative thinking, while enjoying the calming, immersive qualities of a narrative. Yokai thus serve as both companions and guides, leading humans gently through the interconnected web of imagination, morality, and the unseen, reminding us that every moment, object, and encounter holds potential for insight, wonder, and reflection. As we move deeper into the world of yokai, we begin to recognize not only their diversity but also the subtleties of their roles in shaping human understanding and imagination. These spirits inhabit every corner of life, from the towering peaks of mountains to the quiet stillness of a home, from rushing rivers to ancient forests. They are never entirely distant or separate. They are reflections of human behavior, environmental awareness, and moral consciousness. In encountering yokai, humans are invited to engage with curiosity, reflection, and attentiveness, discovering that the unseen world is alive, responsive, and filled with lessons carefully woven into narrative form. A central theme in the mythology of yokai is the intricate balance between mischief and instruction. Spirits like the tanuki or kitsune often play playful tricks, creating surprise or confusion. Yet their actions are rarely arbitrary. Every mischief, every puzzle, serves as an opportunity for humans to observe, analyze, and respond thoughtfully. A tanuki may transform into a harmless object. A kitsune may lead someone on a whimsical journey. But in each instance, the underlying lesson is one of mindfulness and perceptiveness. Through these interactions, listeners learn to pay attention to detail, recognize patterns, and appreciate subtlety, skills that extend beyond storytelling into everyday life. The natural world serves as both a setting and an active participant in yokai narratives. Forests, rivers, mountains, and lakes are alive with spirit, movement, and significance. Kappa inhabit rivers, reminding humans of the power, unpredictability, and mystery of water. Tengu dwell in the mountains, emphasizing vigilance, skill, and respect for the natural environment. Kodama reside within trees, teaching that every living entity has consciousness and worth. By integrating the natural world with the supernatural, yokai stories cultivate a deep sense of ecological awareness, attentiveness, and ethical engagement. Humans are not merely passive observers. They are participants in a universe where actions ripple through both seen and unseen realms. Yokai are also deeply tied to human emotion and psychology. Many spirits emerge from human feelings such as grief, longing, curiosity, or joy. Eerie, for example, arise from unresolved sorrow or lingering attachment, providing a safe narrative space for reflection and empathy. Conversely, playful or mischievous spirits encourage creativity, ingenuity, and ethical discernment, turning potentially frightening encounters into opportunities for reflection and engagement. These emotional connections deepen the immersive quality of the stories, fostering a sense of intimacy between the listener, the narrative, and the unseen world. The moral and ethical dimensions of yokai stories are both subtle and profound. While spirits may reward attentiveness, humility, or kindness, they may also challenge arrogance, greed, or recklessness. A kitsune might teach humility through clever trickery, a tengu might demand respect for skill and caution, and a tsukumagami might respond to neglect with playful admonition. These lessons are embedded within the narrative itself, allowing listeners to absorb wisdom through observation and imagination rather than overt instruction. In this way, yokai serve as moral guides, fostering reflection and ethical awareness while maintaining the immersive, contemplative tone of the storytelling. The interplay between danger and protection is another key characteristic of yokai narratives. Even seemingly threatening spirits often act as subtle guardians, testing humans, teaching lessons, or maintaining balance within their domain. Kappa may challenge human recklessness near water, tengu may confront arrogance or overconfidence, and kodama may reward attentiveness in the forest. Through these interactions, listeners are reminded that caution, respect, and mindfulness are essential, and that challenges often coexist with protection and guidance. The duality of danger and care creates a dynamic narrative space, engaging curiosity and reflection while maintaining a calming rhythm suitable for immersive listening. Transformation and adaptability are central to yokai as well. Many spirits are shapeshifters, capable of taking on forms that surprise or test humans, teaching lessons in observation, discernment, and ethical awareness. Kitsune, for example, can assume human form, blending seamlessly into the world around them, while tanuki may disguise themselves as inanimate objects to test perception and attentiveness. These transformations are never purely whimsical. They are carefully designed to foster reflection, insight, and creativity. Through these stories, listeners learn that appearances can be deceiving and that thoughtful observation is a key tool for understanding the world and navigating its subtle complexities. Cultural and regional context adds further richness to yokai mythology. Each village, town, and landscape has its own versions of spirits, shaped by local customs, historical events, and environmental features. A river-dwelling kappa may embody the concerns of a fishing community, while a mountain-dwelling tengu reflects the values of skill, vigilance, and respect for the peaks. Household spirits like zeshikiwarashi highlight the importance of domestic harmony and attentiveness in urban or rural settings alike. These regional variations ensure that yokai stories remain relevant, resonant, and deeply connected to the lived experience of the communities that tell them. Yokai mythology also emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things. Spirits interact not only with humans but with each other, creating a web of relationships that mirrors ecological, social, and moral networks. A playful tanuki may inadvertently lead someone into the territory of a tengu, a tsukumagami might influence events in a household, or kodama may shift the course of a forest encounter. Each interaction reinforces the idea that actions, observation, and behavior are interconnected, that the world is responsive, and that every choice carries meaning. This interconnectedness encourages mindfulness, reflection, and empathy, providing lessons that extend far beyond the narrative itself. Emotion, imagination, and ethical insight converge in these tales to create immersive, calming, and reflective experiences. By engaging listeners' curiosity, sense of wonder, and capacity for empathy, yokai stories foster personal reflection, ethical awareness, and creative thinking. The narratives are carefully paced, with subtle tension and rich descriptive imagery, allowing audiences to explore complex themes without fear or overwhelm. Whether encountering playful mischief, moral tests, or subtle guidance, listeners are gently led into contemplation, imagination, and connection with both human and supernatural realms. Finally, the enduring appeal of yokai lies in their ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Mountains, forests, rivers, homes, and objects become imbued with life, meaning, and possibility. Spirits guide, test, and delight, turning routine experiences into opportunities for reflection, attentiveness, and wonder. Through these stories, listeners learn to perceive the world with curiosity, respect, and imagination, recognizing that every action, object, and observation carry significance. As we continue our journey through the realm of yokai, we begin to notice the intricate ways in which these spirits not only inhabit the physical world, but also shape the mental and emotional landscapes of those who encounter them. They are more than mere figments of imagination. They are reflections of human behavior, morality, and the delicate balance between curiosity and caution. Each story, each encounter, serves as a gentle reminder that the world is alive with unseen forces, and that attentiveness, empathy, and respect are essential qualities for navigating both life and the imagination. One of the most fascinating aspects of yokai is their dual nature. Many of these spirits embody both playfulness and wisdom, mischief and guidance, challenge and protection. The tanuki, for instance, is renowned for its trickery and shape-shifting abilities. Yet beneath its playful pranks lies a subtle lesson. Observation, discernment, and adaptability are essential virtues. Similarly, kitsune, the mystical fox spirits, use their shape-shifting abilities to test humans, reward virtue, or encourage reflection. Their actions are never arbitrary. They are carefully designed to foster mindfulness, teach ethical lessons, and inspire creativity. Through these encounters, listeners are invited to consider not only the narrative at hand, but also the broader principles of attentiveness, morality, and adaptability. The natural environment plays a central role in these stories, serving as both a stage and a character in its own right. Forests, rivers, mountains, and lakes are alive with presence, inhabited by spirits whose actions and moods mirror the rhythms of nature. Kappa, dwelling in rivers and ponds, teach caution and respect for the water's power, while Tengu, watching from high mountain peaks, emphasize discipline, vigilance, and harmony with the natural world. Kodama, the spirits of trees, remind humans that even the smallest living entities deserve attention and care. By weaving spirits into these natural spaces, yokai mythology fosters ecological awareness, attentiveness, and respect, encouraging humans to perceive the world as a network of interconnected life and consciousness. Emotion is deeply interwoven with the presence of yokai. Many spirits arise from human feelings, grief, longing, curiosity, joy, or fear, and provide safe, narrative spaces for exploration and reflection. Eerie, for example, are spirits born from unresolved sorrow or attachment, allowing listeners to engage with complex emotions in a contemplative and gentle way. Playful or mischievous spirits, by contrast, spark curiosity, ingenuity, and ethical reflection, turning potentially unsettling encounters into learning experiences. The emotional resonance of these stories strengthens their immersive quality, creating a personal connection between listener, narrative, and spirit world, and fostering empathy and reflective contemplation. Moral guidance is embedded within these narratives with subtlety and sophistication. Spirits reward humility, kindness, and attentiveness, while they challenge arrogance, carelessness, or greed. A kitsune may lead a boastful traveler through a series of playful illusions to teach humility. A tengu may test a climber's skill and patience. And a tsukumagami may play minor tricks to remind humans to treat their possessions with care. These lessons are conveyed through narrative action rather than direct instruction, allowing listeners to absorb wisdom naturally, reflect on behavior, and consider the consequences of their own choices. In this way, yokai serve as gentle moral guides, fostering reflection and attentiveness without fear or overt admonition. The interplay of danger and safety is a hallmark of yokai mythology. Even spirits that appear threatening often serve as protectors or instructors. Kappa, while capable of mischief, teach prudence and environmental respect. Tengu test hubris while offering guidance to the worthy. Kodama reward those who honor the forest while subtly punishing neglect or thoughtlessness. This duality reinforces a principle that challenge and protection often coexist, inviting humans to approach life with both caution and courage. The balance between tension and calm sustains engagement while preserving the gentle, immersive quality of the stories, making them ideal for contemplative listening. Transformation and adaptability are recurring motifs in yokai tales. Many spirits possess the ability to shapeshift, reflecting the fluidity of perception and complexity of human experience. Kitsune, tanuki, and other shape-shifting spirits teach that appearances are often deceptive, urging attention, observation, and critical thinking. These transformations are rarely frivolous. They are narrative tools designed to cultivate insight, creativity, and ethical discernment. Through these lessons, listeners are reminded that understanding requires observation, reflection, and a willingness to engage with the unexpected. Regional and historical context further enriches yokai stories. Different communities adapted their spirits to reflect local environments, customs, and experiences. Coastal villages might feature yokai that warn against the dangers of tides, while mountain communities emphasize tengu as guardians of peaks and forests. Urban households celebrate zashiki warashi to encourage domestic harmony, attentiveness, and care. This adaptability ensures that yokai remain relevant and meaningful across generations, while retaining the core themes of curiosity, morality, and attentiveness. The regional diversity of these spirits creates a rich, layered mythology that reflects both place and culture. The interconnectedness of all things is a pervasive theme in yokai mythology. Spirits interact not only with humans but with one another, forming a web of relationships that mirrors ecological, social, and moral networks. A playful tanuki may inadvertently lead a human into the territory of a tengu, while a kodama may influence events in the forest, reinforcing the importance of observation and respect. These interactions remind listeners that every action has consequences, and that attentiveness, empathy, and ethical behavior are vital not only in the human world but also in the larger, interconnected universe. Emotion, imagination, and ethical insight converge seamlessly in these tales. By blending suspense, moral reflection, and gentle storytelling, yokai narratives create immersive experiences that stimulate curiosity, reflection, and empathy. Listeners are invited to imagine, contemplate, and engage with both human and spirit worlds, exploring lessons that extend far beyond the narrative itself. The stories cultivate mindfulness, creativity, and ethical awareness, all while maintaining a calming, reflective atmosphere ideal for bedtime or immersive listening. Finally, the enduring charm of yokai lies in their ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Mountains, rivers, forests, homes, and objects become animated with life and meaning, offering opportunities for reflection, curiosity, and attentiveness. Spirits guide, test, and inspire, turning daily experiences into moments rich with imaginative possibility and ethical insight. By engaging with these stories, listeners are encouraged to observe, reflect, and interact with the world thoughtfully, recognizing the unseen currents of influence and wisdom in every encounter. The protective roles of yokai also highlight the cultural principle of reciprocity. Respect, care, and attentiveness towards spirits, nature, and objects often result in protection, guidance, or blessings. Conversely, neglect, disrespect, or harmful behavior may bring misfortune or admonishment. These narratives cultivate a sense of balance, emphasizing that human actions have consequences and that maintaining harmony with the world, visible or invisible, is essential. Guardianship, then, is not merely about the spirit's power but about teaching humans to engage thoughtfully, ethically, and empathetically with the world around them. Many stories of guardian yokai also emphasize continuity and tradition. The spirits are often tied to specific places, households, or objects over generations, creating a sense of enduring presence. The lessons they impart are consistent across time. Humility, attentiveness, respect, and care remain central themes. By framing guardianship in terms of long-term relationships, these narratives encourage humans to think beyond immediate concerns and to consider the ongoing impact of their actions. The yokai become silent teachers, guiding behavior, cultivating mindfulness, and nurturing ethical awareness across generations. Another notable aspect of guardianship is a careful balance between freedom and authority. Protective yokai do not impose themselves constantly. They appear selectively, intervene subtly, and allow humans a space to learn through observation and reflection. This measured approach mirrors a natural and social order, teaching that true protection often involves guidance rather than domination. Humans are empowered to act thoughtfully, to develop judgment, and to recognize consequences, all while being gently supported by the unseen presence of yokai. This principle underscores the depth of wisdom embedded within these stories, revealing a worldview where autonomy, responsibility, and care are deeply intertwined. In reflecting on the guardianship of yokai, one realizes that these spirits serve multiple roles simultaneously. They are teachers, moral guides, protectors, and mirrors of human behavior. They maintain balance within the natural and social worlds, encourage mindfulness and reflection, and nurture a sense of wonder and imagination. The calm, immersive storytelling style used to convey these tales allows listeners to absorb these lessons without fear, fostering a serene, contemplative engagement with the myths. Through the gentle presence of guardian yokai, humans are invited to recognize both the seen and unseen forces shaping their lives and to act with awareness, respect, and empathy in every interaction. Ultimately, the guardianship of yokai reflects a profound understanding of interconnectedness between humans, nature, spirits, and objects. By weaving protection, guidance, and moral insight into narratives that blend suspense, wonder, and calm reflection, these stories offer a comprehensive framework for living harmoniously within a complex, often unpredictable world. Listeners are encouraged to cultivate attentiveness, empathy, and respect, and to recognize that every action, choice, and observation contributes to a larger web of relationships and responsibilities. In this way, guardian yokai embody both practical wisdom and imaginative richness, creating a mythology that is immersive, reflective, and deeply calming. This duality, danger intertwined with guidance, reinforces a notion that challenges our opportunities for growth, attentiveness, and ethical reflection. The subtle tension maintains engagement and curiosity, while the overarching calm tone ensures the story remains immersive and suitable for reflective listening. Transformation and adaptability are recurring motifs in yokai narratives. Shape-shifting spirits such as kitsune and tanuki encourage critical observation, ethical discernment, and creative thinking. Their transformations are never random. They are purposefully designed to test perception, reward attentiveness, and cultivate adaptability in human behavior. Through these stories, listeners are reminded that appearances are often deceptive and that careful observation, reflection, and flexibility are essential for navigating both the physical and moral worlds. Regional and historical context adds further richness to the mythology of yokai. Villages, towns, and landscapes each develop spirits reflecting local environments, customs, and societal concerns. River communities emphasize kappa as guardians and tests of prudence. Mountain regions highlighted tengu as protectors and moral teachers. And urban households celebrated zeshikiwarashi to encourage domestic harmony. These localized adaptations ensure the enduring relevance of yokai, connecting the supernatural to everyday life, cultural practices, and environmental awareness. By exploring these variations, listeners gain insight into the intricate relationship between place, culture, and storytelling. Interconnectedness is a pervasive theme throughout yokai narratives. Spirits often interact with humans and with each other, creating a complex web of relationships and consequences. A playful tanuki may lead a traveler into tengu territory, a kodama may influence the events of a forest journey, and tsukumagami may subtly affect household dynamics. Each interaction demonstrates the ripple effect of action and attentiveness, encouraging mindfulness, empathy, and ethical consideration. Through these intertwined relationships, yokai teach that the world is responsive, interconnected, and infused with subtle layers of meaning that require observation and reflection. Imagination, ethical insight, and emotional engagement converge in these stories, creating a rich and immersive experience. By blending suspense, moral reflection, and contemplative narrative, yokai tales stimulate curiosity, empathy, and introspection. Listeners are invited to navigate both human and spirit worlds, observing behavior, exploring consequence, and considering ethical choices. This combination of narrative depth and immersive storytelling cultivates calm, reflective engagement, making the experience both meditative and intellectually stimulating. Finally, the enduring magic of yokai lies in their ability to transform the mundane into the extraordinary. Mountains, rivers, forests, homes, and objects become animated with spirit, meaning, and possibility. The stories invite listeners to observe the subtle details of life, recognize the significance of everyday actions, and appreciate the hidden layers of the world. Through these encounters, humans are gently guided toward mindfulness, ethical awareness, and imaginative engagement, discovering that the ordinary is always imbued with the extraordinary. Yokai thus serve as companions, guides, and mirrors of human behavior, nurturing reflection, creativity, and calm in a universe alive with unseen forces and gentle wisdom. As we approach the final stages of our journey through the world of yokai, it becomes ever more clear that these spirits are not simply figures of folklore. They are reflections of human nature, cultural identity, and the unseen forces that shape both our imagination and our daily lives. Every encounter with a yokai, whether mischievous, benevolent, or enigmatic, is a gentle lesson in observation, morality, and attentiveness. These spirits invite us to see the extraordinary within the ordinary, to perceive the subtle rhythms of the natural world, and to contemplate the ethical and emotional dimensions of our actions. By immersing ourselves in their stories, we learn not only about the spirits themselves, but also about the intricate ways in which humans interact with the world around them. A defining characteristic of yokai is their duality. Many spirits embody both mischief and wisdom, playfulness and instruction, challenge and protection. The tanuki, for example, is famous for its playful tricks and shape-shifting abilities, yet beneath the humor lies a carefully designed lesson. The attentiveness, adaptability, and critical thinking are essential virtues. Kitsune, the fox spirits, similarly use disguise and cleverness to test humans, reward virtue, or illuminate ethical principles. Every encounter is purposeful, inviting listeners to reflect on behavior, perception, and the subtle moral threads woven into everyday life. Through these narratives, we begin to understand that the unseen world is responsive, teaching lessons without direct coercion, and fostering awareness and imagination simultaneously. The natural environment is central to yokai mythology, not merely as a backdrop, but as an active participant in the stories. Rivers, forests, mountains, and lakes are alive with the presence of spirits, each embodying lessons about caution, respect, and harmony. Kappa inhabit water bodies, teaching prudence and humility, while Tengu reside on mountain peaks, emphasizing discipline, vigilance, and the mastery of skill. Kodama, spirits of trees, remind humans that even the smallest life is sacred, deserving attention and care. Through these tales, listeners are encouraged to observe the natural world thoughtfully, understanding that every interaction carries consequence, and that mindfulness in everyday life is a bridge between the human and the supernatural. Emotion and human psychology are intricately woven into these narratives. Yokai often arise from, or interact with, human feelings such as sorrow, longing, joy, or curiosity. Eerie, spirits born from unresolved grief or attachment, provide a safe and contemplative space for exploring complex emotions. Playful spirits, in contrast, inspire creativity, observation, and ethical discernment, transforming potential fear into curiosity and reflection. This emotional depth enhances the immersive quality of the stories, creating a personal connection between the listener, the narrative, and the spirit world. Through engagement with these tales, listeners are invited to reflect on their own emotions, cultivating empathy and introspection in a gentle, meditative manner. Ethical lessons are embedded subtly but powerfully within yokai stories. Spirits reward virtues such as humility, kindness, attentiveness, and respect, while mischief or challenge is directed toward arrogance, carelessness, or greed. A kitsune may lead a boastful traveler through a series of illusions to teach humility, a tengu may confront a climber over confidence to instill caution, and a tsukumagami may play gentle tricks to remind humans to treat their possessions with respect. By embedding morality within narrative action rather than direct instruction, these stories allow listeners to internalize lessons organically, fostering reflection and mindfulness without fear or overt admonition. The interplay of danger and guidance is another recurring theme. Even spirits that appear threatening often act as protectors or teachers, challenging humans to grow, adapt, and observe carefully. Kappa's pranks serve as lessons in prudence, Tengu's tests emphasize skill and humility, and Kodama reward attentiveness to the forest. This dynamic teaches that life's challenges often coexist with guidance and support, and that careful observation, thoughtfulness, and ethical behavior are rewarded in both seen and unseen ways. The balance of subtle tension and calming narrative ensures that stories remain immersive, reflective, and soothing rather than frightening. Transformation and adaptability continue to be central motifs. Shape-shifting yokai, such as kitsune and tanuki, challenge humans to question appearances, exercise discernment, and cultivate creativity. Their transformations are purposeful, turning ordinary encounters into opportunities for learning, reflection, and imaginative engagement. Listeners are reminded that the world is rarely as it seems, and that careful observation and flexibility of thought are essential for understanding and navigating both the physical and moral landscapes of life. Regional and cultural context adds richness to yokai stories, ensuring that spirits reflect the specificities of their environment and community. River-dwelling kappa teach caution in fishing villages. Mountain-dwelling tengu embody local values of skill and vigilance, and household zeshikawarashi encourage domestic harmony. These variations demonstrate the adaptability of yokai, preserving their relevance across generations while connecting supernatural storytelling to real-world environments, cultural practices, and societal values. The result is a multi-layered mythology that resonates both locally and universally, offering immersive reflection and cultural insight simultaneously. Interconnectedness pervades yokai narratives. Spirits interact with humans, each other, and the environment in ways that demonstrate the ripple effect of action and consequence. A tanuki's mischief may lead a human into a tengu's domain. Kodama may subtly influence forest events, and tsukumagami may gently alter household outcomes. These intricate interactions teach that all actions are linked, that attentiveness and empathy matter, and that every element of the world, seen or unseen, participates in a shared web of consequence and meaning. This interconnectedness encourages mindfulness, ethical reflection, and imaginative engagement with the unseen. Emotion, imagination, and moral insight converge in these stories to create deeply immersive experiences. By blending suspense, contemplative pacing, and narrative reflection, yokai tales stimulate curiosity, ethical awareness, and empathy. Listeners are invited to navigate both human and spirit worlds, observing interactions, considering consequences, and reflecting on ethical choices. This combination of narrative depth, subtle tension, and meditative calm cultivates a reflective and imaginative state, perfect for bedtime or quiet contemplation. Ultimately, the enduring magic of yokai lies in their capacity to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Homes, forests, rivers, mountains, and even objects become animated with life, meaning, and hidden lessons. Spirits guide, challenge, and delight, turning everyday experiences into opportunities for reflection, attentiveness, and imaginative engagement. By engaging with these stories, listeners are gently taught to see the world with curiosity, empathy, and mindfulness, discovering that the unseen, the ordinary, and the extraordinary are all deeply interconnected. Yokai become companions, teachers, and mirrors, nurturing calm reflection, imagination, and ethical awareness in a universe alive with wonder, subtle wisdom, and endless possibility. As our journey through the world of yokai comes to a close, we pause to reflect on the lessons these spirits quietly offer. Throughout history, they have guided humans, not through fear, but through observation, subtle challenge, and gentle wisdom. Tanuki teach adaptability and cleverness, kitsune test discernment and reward virtue, and tengu encourage humility and skill. Even the smallest tsukumagami reminds us to treat ordinary objects with care, showing that every corner of life is alive with meaning if we only pay attention. Nature remains at the heart of these stories. Forests whisper with kodama, rivers flow with kappa, and mountains watch over travelers through the gaze of tengu. By blending the human and natural worlds, yokai mythology teaches mindfulness, respect, and harmony, encouraging listeners to move through life with gentle awareness. These spirits also mirror human emotion, grief, joy, curiosity, and longing, offering safe spaces to explore feeling and reflection, while inspiring imagination and ethical thought. Yokai are also teachers of interconnectedness. Their interactions with humans, each other, and the environment remind us that every action carries consequence. A tanuki's playful trick may lead to unexpected lessons, a kodama may subtly shape a forest path, and a tsukumagami may influence the smallest household event. Through these encounters, we learn to approach life with attentiveness, empathy, and respect, seeing the extraordinary within the ordinary. As the stories end, the world of yokai continues to live quietly in the imagination. Mountains, rivers, forests, and homes remain animated with spirit and meaning. The lessons they offer, mindfulness, creativity, ethical reflection, and calm observation, linger gently, guiding us beyond the narrative. And so, the yokai world, mysterious yet familiar, whispers softly to all who listen, reminding us that even the unseen carries wisdom, and that life itself is full of quiet wonders waiting to be noticed.